Chapter 989. Travel with a Beauty. Chapter 989. Travel with a Beauty _. When Shi Yin returned to the center of the Devil Blood Star, Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion, Bath of Evil Dragon Tribe, and Gu Tei of Brutal Dragon Tribe had just finished their negotiation. They had come up with a trading and shipping contract for the future. They looked satisfied. Fu Wei had offered them many preferential prices compared to before. As Fu Wei had the approval of Bath and Gu Tei, she got the support of the Monster Clan. Bath and Gu Tei had dozens of life stars. They were indeed the prominent regional force in Agate Star area. Many other branches of the Monster Clan had depended on Bath and Gu Tei. In some aspects, Fu Wei had the exclusive right to do business with the entire Monster Clan. The next meeting to be held was going to be in the Monster Dragon Star. At that time, Fu Wei would arrange for her staff to deliver the materials required to the Monster Clan to quench their bodies. She would receive big profits from Monster Clan. Both sides were happy. Bath and Gu Tei saw Shi Yin coming. They nodded to greet him. Talking to Shi Yin, they knew Blood Devil was cultivating in seclusion. Thus, they didn't stay for a long time and they departed from Devil Blood Star. I heard that you want to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison? Fu Wei got this information from Wu Lan. She seemed to not be surprised and just smiled. I'm also going there. Do you need a ride? Are you going to Shadow Ghostly Prison too? Shi Yin was surprised. Yes, I have some business there. Our battleship can move faster than you guys fly. You don't need to use your energy to. What do you think? Do you want to go with us? Invited Fu Wei. She was still so curious about Shi Yin, the man who had the approval of the two chiefs of Monster Dragon Star, and was related to Blood Devil somehow was going to bloom with great achievement in Agate Star area later. Potion and Tool Pavilion had always valued potential experts, which was its persistent working policy. Ah, Mei Mei, you do favor our Shi Yin a lot. You're going to the same destination again. I think your destiny is deep enough. Haha. Wu Lan teased her. Haha, I heard you have many men chase after you in Potion and Tool Pavilion, but you never lay your eyes on anyone. You haven't had any rumors or scandals with anyone. Don't you think when this information is released, your flower bodyguards would be jealous and chase after Shi Yin and confront him? Fu Wei blushed, glancing at her reluctantly. Jiejia, why don't you let me go? Because you look so cute when you're blushing. I like to see you blush. Wu Lan smiled deliberately and then said to Shi Yin, going with Potion and Tool Pavilion will save you from trouble. No matter which area it is, the battleship of Potion and Tool Pavilion can cross wars and fights. It's like a pass. You won't encounter troubles. Pausing for a while, Wu Lan said, if something happens, it will only be the internal competition between the parties of Potion and Tool Pavilion itself. Haha, other forces don't dare to mess with them. Fu Wei was bewildered. She shook her head, sighing as if she had to accept what Wu Lan said. Potion and Tool Pavilion was a unique force that stayed away from the mundane forces of Agate Star area. It was truly the biggest business of Agate Star area. No matter how strong they were, those forces had to have a close or even complicated relationship with Potion and Tool Pavilion. They needed to exchange for cultivating materials from Potion and Tool Pavilion. Anyway, each life star and mineral star had some special cultivating materials. However, the warriors' demands were strange. Things they could exploit from their life star wasn't necessarily what they needed. What Potion and Tool Pavilion did was to manage the cultivating materials of Agate Star area. It would deliver what the warriors needed and exchange them for the items they didn't need. Potion and Tool Pavilion could earn from the difference between prices. Also, Potion and Tool Pavilion had employed many alchemists and blacksmiths. They could refine materials into pellets, medicines, secret treasures, and battleships. At the same time, they had different source of power Upanishad inheritances and books of special powers Upanishads. Together, they brought the enormous turnover to Potion and Tool Pavilion. No one objected to the fact that Potion and Tool Pavilion was the wealthiest force in Agate Star area. Rumors even said that if any mighty force could have Potion and Tool Pavilion, they received the ability to rule the entire star area alone. From this aspect, people knew how strong Potion and Tool Pavilion was. Having Potion and Tool Pavilion meant having endless pellets and medicines, battleships, and cultivating materials. At the same time, they could even cut off material supply for the enemies. With the right time and right force, they would become invincible. However, Potion and Tool Pavilion had never participated in any battles of the forces. They would remain neutral forever, staying away from wars and competitions. Its real competition happened internally between the elders. The internal war of Potion and Tool Pavilion was exclusive. It restricted the other forces from joining. People said that it was also brutal. However, outsiders couldn't know that. If you also go there, I should say thanks in advance. Xuan pondered for a while and then nodded with a smile. He knew that it would be good for his team. We want to depart right now. Fu Wei adjusted a piece of jade on her dress, her face calm like water. We've stayed in the Devil Bloodstar for a long time. We're delayed. We should hurry to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison. I have no problem with that, Xuan smiled. He knew Fei Lan and Leona couldn't wait very long. Good then. We're going to depart now, Fu Wei said and then called a war chariot for Xuan, Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua. They flew towards the battleship of Potion and Tool Pavilion, which was anchored out there. When the rumbling noise of the battleship's engine starting, the battleship that looked like an antique beast slowly soared up from the Devil Blood Star, flying into the immense galaxy. They treated Xuan differently this time. The previous time he hopped in this battleship, he could only sit on a corner of the deck. Potion and Tool Pavilion staff didn't care about him much. However, Fu Wei had given him a spacious cultivating room inside the battleship this time, which had a meditating platform that could gather energy. It also had a stone room where he could practice Power Upanishad, a bathroom, and even good wines and fruits. He could reach for everything he needed. The cultivating chamber was several hundred meters large, divided into 10 rooms. Each of them was decorated with gorgeous jewels and exquisite drawings on the wall. All looked stunningly luxurious. It seemed like Fu Wei wanted to form a good relationship with Xuan. After she took Xuan's team of 4 to the room, she said with a smile, "You can stay here and cultivate. When we get there, I'll notify you. The conditions here are good for your cultivation. We've set up the barrier outside. You can strike your blows. Warriors at Incipient God Realm can't break the barrier. Don't worry about it. Thanks for your excellent hospitality. Don't be so polite. If you have any materials to sell or buy, remember to call me." Of course. Of course. Fu Wei smiled and nodded. She didn't linger. At the moment the battleship moved through the atmosphere of Devil Bloodstar, she left. As soon as she left, Xuan released his soul consciousness to sense around. He then took out a blue ice jar. This jar has 3,000 fold lotuses. I've refined them. You 3 should take 1 for each. It will benefit your sea of consciousness and soul altar very well. Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua had cultivated the inheritances of the bloodthirsty's cortege of 8. They all had the similar blood mark on their forehead. According to the ring's spirit, the heirs and heiresses of the 8 servants of Bloodthirsty would become his servants too. Strengthening them meant improving his hands. Thus, he had saved 3,000 fold lotuses for the 3 of them. He wanted to increase their realms and powers faster. "Thank you, Senior." Ka Tua laughed. He didn't try to be shy or lie to Xuan. He received the blue ice jar directly. "We won't fail you, Senior." Although he still called Xuan Senior, he had considered Xuan his master and intended to serve him wholeheartedly. After this period of time staying together, Ka Tua gradually recognized that Gulu, who had imparted him the inheritance, was one of the 8 members of the Bloodthirsty's cortege of 8. He had solemnly pledged to fulfill the wish of that deceased precursor. He was clear and determined. He knew that he had to become the member of Xuan's entourage. However, for face-saving consideration, he couldn't address the other master directly. Thus, he still called Xuan his senior. Xuan smiled. Through some small details, he had seen the changes in Ka Tua's personality. He was glad because it was easier for them to address each other that way. If Ka Tua called him master every time, Xuan would felt pretty awkward. He couldn't adapt to it. Fei Lan and Leona weren't talkative. They just nodded and didn't say even a thank you. However, Xuan understood that if he was in any trouble, Fei Lan and Leona would risk their lives to help him. They were trustful colleagues who he could reveal his back to. Phalon, Leona, and Ka-Tua took 1,000-fold lotus each. After that, they found their own rooms and started to absorb the lotus as Shi had done. Shi also quieted down. He found a place where he could calm down his mind and meditate. He started to think and comprehend Blood Devil's instructions, which were related to Life Power Upanishad. Blood Devil had great attainment on his cultivation of Life Power Upanishad. It had almost reached the perfect level, the utmost natural level of Life Power Upanishad. The powers of Life Upanishad combined with immortal demon blood had made Shi drop his jaw in awe. That was the first time he knew that Life Power Upanishad could reach such a magical level. As long as he had one drop of immortal demon blood remaining, he could still revive even if his god body was smashed. This was the most terrifyingly marvelous feature of the immortal demon blood. Using immortal demon blood to heal a poorly wounded warrior was another application of immortal demon blood. As long as he had enough demon blood in his body, people who accompanied him could recover if they weren't smashed into a pulp. Shi could use his demon blood to bestow his magical recovery ability to others. This was a terrific yet intimidating ability. Life Power Upanishad in his blood was the exclusive feature of immortal demon blood, which no other races could compare to. Also, it was the main power Upanishad of the immortal demon tribe. Shi was lucky that he had combined Death and Life Powers Upanishads right at the beginning. He had created a new level of combined powers Upanishad, which could support each other. The performance of Life Power Upanishad and Demon Blood by Blood Devil had opened a new door to Shi. It showed him the powers of a higher level. It had impressed him deeply. There was still a long time to go before they reached Shadow Ghostly Prison. Shi decided to use this time most sufficiently to break through his powers Upanishads. This way, he could grow his energy and power Upanishads at the same time. He lacked improvement of powers Upanishad and realm. About the required amount of energy, Shi smiled, his face relaxed. When they arrived in Shadow Ghostly Prison, why would he worry about not having enough energy to break through? Chapter 990, Ancient City Battleship. Chapter 990, Ancient City Battleship _ Old Orchid Star, Far West Region, Agate Star Area. After 32 years, Old Orchid Star was now dominated by wild weed. The grand mountain that the giant tribe used to live on was now leveled. However, this level 7 life star didn't have many races dwelling on it due to its terrible gravity. Forces of Far West joined hands to sweep out this life star. This planet was now devastated. They had exploited all the strange and rare mineral ores and crystals. However, one mysterious ancient city stood firm in a corner of Old Orchid Star. It was dusted and decorated with spider webs and became a playground for many small animals. This mysterious ancient city was made of some special stone material. It was so firm. That year, those warriors who came to rampage this place didn't find anything precious in the city. They returned with nothing. Anyway, those people all were savaged by Blood Devil subordinates. They would never have another chance to get back to Old Orchid Star. Today, a gigantic battleship landed on Old Orchid Star and anchored by that ancient city. Warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion got out of their battleship and headed to that mysterious city, their faces earnest. The leader of this group was Blacksmith Jia Duo of Potion and Tool Pavilion, who was also Lord Duo, Fu Wei's uncle Duo. He was an expert at Third Sky of Ethereal God Realm who cultivated the extraordinary space power Upanishad. Jia Duo was wearing bright silver clothes with exquisite embroideries. He was agile and lively, although he looked thin at his 50s or 60s with silver hair draped over his shoulder. Other warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion followed him with great respect. Jia Duo walked to the mysterious ancient city. Looking at the rigid city that had stood against tens of thousands of years, he was amazed. He directly headed to the toughest building in the city, which Shi and Na Xian had tried to open but failed even though they had tried all kinds of strength. Jia Duo stood in front of the door, slowly reached out and touched it. He squinted to sense for a moment. Swish! A lightsaber shot out from his fingertip, moving like a soft ribbon. It ripped off layers of barrier on the stone doors. Boom! The stone door was smashed. Jaduo was still calm and natural, sauntering into the stone building with bright eyes. The circles inside the stone building glowed, releasing colorful light rings. They connected with each other and created a massive light sphere. Each loop was filled with beautiful and expensive divine crystals, which were all top-quality ones. There were dozens of thousands of them. The divine crystals were shining dazzlingly like stars in the universe, sparkling in each corner of the stone building. Jaduo was moving between the circles, trying to find something. He didn't want to miss any corner. However, after several times of searching, he got nothing and he knitted his brows. After a while, Jaduo's fingers shot out beams of light, aiming at the light ball as if he wanted to ignite the divine crystals. Millions of divine crystals released their energy at once. The abundant energy erupted like a volcano. It filled the stone building immediately and then overflowed, reaching each corner of this mysterious city in the form of red light. Rumble, rumble. The mysterious ancient city that stood on Old Orchid Star slowly floated up into the sky with such energy supplemented. Jaduo got out of the stone building, walking around the ancient city hovering in the sky. He carefully searched through every corner. Gradually, his face grimaced. In the vast sea of stars, a massive battleship was moving like a wild meteor. Fu Wei and Yuan were staying in the center chamber, staring at a mirror with hope. Gradually, the bright mirror glowed in a dim halo. A shadow became clearer. It was Jaduo, the one who was an Old Orchid Star at this moment. Uncle Duo. Fu Wei couldn't help but call. With a gentle figure, she said tenderly, "Did you find the cannon?" In that mirror, Jaduo appeared with a pale face. "The cannon isn't here. This ancient city is a battleship fabricated by the very first Pavilion master. That elder had stolen it. I'm sure he used to live here. The thousand-fold lotuses they got grew here. The boy you said did that. I've searched every corner of the battleship. I got nothing, not even a rock." Fu Wei and Yuan stiffened their faces. They could see the mysterious city moving slowly and then accelerating through that mirror. It was getting out of the atmosphere of Old Orchid Star and entering the Sea of Stars. That year, the first Pavilion Master had fabricated himself a strange battleship which looked like a city moving in the void of the endless Sea of Stars. That city was the symbol of the first Pavilion Master. The elder who took the cannon and ran away was the key captain that drove the battleship. During that internal war, he activated the battleship and ran away, disappearing from Agate Star area. They found the battleship and the thousand-fold lotuses, which confirmed the fact that the elder used to live in the ancient city. However, they couldn't find his body or the cannon. They didn't see anything that described the cannon or was related to the cannon, which gave Jaduo a lot of resentment for traveling all the way here for nothing. "I heard that the battleship was buried in the ground of the Old Orchid Star. Those people had found it by chance. Should the cannon be hidden in the core of the planet?" Fu Wei thought, frowning. The planet core of Old Orchid Star? Jaduo's face changed, his eyes more solemn. The Old Orchid Star has a gravity that is 100 times heavier compared to the other planets. The gravity in the core should be more terrifying and unpredictable. Even I can't jump in there. Jaduo knitted his brow tightly as he was thinking. "I think I can use the soul consciousness to sense a little bit." Then, Jaduo sat down on the battleship and closed his eyes and released the soul consciousness, sending it towards the core of Old Orchid Star. Fu Wei and Yuan anxiously watched him. After a while, Jaduo retrieved his soul consciousness. With a dark countenance, he shook his head. "Nothing. It's empty." Fu Wei and Yuan were disappointed. "The cannon isn't there. If not, I could have sent some aura, though." Jaduo contemplated for a while and then said, "Keep an eye on that boy. Try to ask him for more details. Besides the thousand-fold lotus, ask if he saw anything else." Fu Wei nodded begrudgingly. "The cannon is crucial. You have to get that information no matter what. If needed, you can use some extreme tricks then." Jaduo said with a malignant face and snorted. "If he wants to conceal his information, force his soul altar out of his god body. We can use soul-searching technique to take his memories and investigate. It is not that easy, and Yun's face was bitter. He's from the same tribe as Blood Devil. Blood Devil favors him a lot. He also has some relations with Bath and Gute of Monster Clan. If they want to plot against us, they can harm our potion and Tool Pavilion's reputation. Plus, we would even receive the anger of Monster Clan. Hearing her, Jaduo arched his brows. Who is that kid? Not clear yet. Our potion and Tool Pavilion has no record of him. He suddenly came out from nowhere, answered Yun in a soft tone. If he has some relations with Demon Clan and Monster Clan, we can't use force, of course. I'm too far away from you guys. Fu Wei, you work on it. Try to take true information from him. The information of the canon seems to be disclosed. The Great Elder has asked me about this. You guys must be careful. Do not disclose anything. After Jaduo said this, his image dimmed out and disappeared. Fu Wei and Yun exchanged looks, sighing reluctantly. The relationships within Potion and Tool Pavilion were complicated and troublesome. Great Elder had arranged some insiders to his enemy parties. Fu Wei didn't know who they were. Sometimes, Great Elder knew their operation and information. They couldn't do anything about this, so they could only be more cautious. Oh, I have to talk to him again. What a headache. Fu Wei smoothed her tangled hair, her face involuntary. That man's full of lies. 8 out of 10 things he says are lies. I'm afraid that it's not easy to take information from him. Young Elder, how about using the 7 emotion and 6 desire liquor? And Yun hesitated, giving a suggestion. Fu Wei blushed. Even I can't control my feelings if I drink that liquor. It's easy to confess. I'm afraid unexpected things could happen. I shouldn't do that. I believe in your strong willpower. And Yun sighed inwardly, but she was persistent. The 7 emotion and 6 desire liquor is effective. It's the only method to force him to tell the truth without using force. The canon is crucial. Young Elder, you should think about the general picture. I know it's hard for you, though. Fu Wei's cheeks reddened as she had a lot of thoughts struggling in her mind. Young Elder, as soon as we get news about the canon, we can stop right there. I think with your ability, you can take the real information from him. And Yun stooped, not daring to look at her, but she still insisted. Fu Wei pondered for a while. She thought a lot before nodding reluctantly. Okay, we can try. Invite him for me. To my room. And Yun was bewildered. She nodded silently. Training room inside the battleship. Yin sat like a rock. He had stayed put for a long time already. He held his aura, but his energy was moving around his body. Inside the other 3 rooms, Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tuo were using the 1,000-fold lotuses to refine their soul altars and strengthen their souls. Knock, knock. The closed jade door transmitted sounds of gentle knocking. Yin woke up and walked to the door with a frown. Looking at Yun with her awkward face, he said impatiently, "What's up?" "Our young elder wants to discuss something with you." And Yun sighed inwardly. She felt guilty. However, they had to put young elder in a great inconvenience for the canon. "If it's not important, I don't care." Yin waved his hand. He was trying his best to understand the mysteries and powers of demon blood. This disturbance annoyed and irritated him. And Yun's face stiffened. She cursed inwardly but still smiled. "I don't know the details, but I think it should be very important. Please, come to see her." "Oh." Yin paused for a while and said reluctantly, "Then lead me." "Follow me." And Yun immediately led him towards a stone corridor, walking deep inside the battleship. Chapter 991. 7 Emotion and 6 Desire Liquor. Chapter 991. 7 Emotion and 6 Desire Liquor _ And Yun stopped by a jade door, speaking with a complicated countenance. "Young elder is waiting for you inside." Then, and Yun bent her body slightly and sighed inwardly before she left. Yin was bewildered. Looking at the jade door, he had no clue at all. He reached out, gently knocking on the door. The clear noise echoing in this empty stone corridor was unpleasant to the ears. "Come in, please." Fu Wei's soft voice came out from inside. Her tender, weak voice was somehow like a tranquilizer, which made people relaxed. Pushing the jade door with a skeptical look, Yin entered the door. His eyes glistened immediately. Inside that 100 square meters jade room, the ceiling was decorated with tender glowing jewels. It was like a curtain of a galaxy hanging above people's heads, giving them a relaxing feeling. The walls were carved with delicate drawings and patterns, which carried hidden energy. Many exquisite tools were displayed on the wall. They looked like decorations that made the room more luxurious and elegant. The doors of smaller rooms in this chamber were half opened. Yin could see the bathroom, the cultivating room, and the pellet refining rooms. Everything here was extremely opulent. A graceful blue figure stood by a white jade table in the middle of the room. Apparently, she had put on her makeup. Her face blushed while her beautiful eyes were like the deep ocean or fulgent blue gems. She wore a long light blue dress, which exposed her white shoulder and moon-like wrists. She wore a blue crystal necklace. Her long hair was pinned up into an elegant and noble bun. She looked tender and stylish. Her slender fingers clutched a white jade bottle, and she poured an amber-colored liquor into a glass. The pure and pleasant scent of liquor entered Yan's nostrils, moving into his internal organs. It relaxed Yin and made him calm and unwind. Fu Wei was trying to create a cozy, comfy atmosphere. She smiled faintly. Her bright eyes rippled with lights when she waved at him, talking tenderly. "Come sit here." Yin was surprised. His mouth curves into a strange smile. "Miss Fu Wei, you called me here to drink with you?" While talking, he walked forward and sat in front of that beautiful blue figure. "Isn't it okay?" Fu Wei smiled naturally. The journey to Shadow Ghostly Prison isn't short. Cultivating isn't a good way to kill time. If you sink into it, your mental state will be limited. Drinking a little bit will help you relax and adjust. Seems like you do know how to enjoy life. Studying the stone room, Yin smiled. "I can tell that from this room." "Haha. Anyway, I'm a rough and rude guy. I may disturb your relaxing time." "Why do you think so? How can you be rude and rough?" Fu Wei's hand lifted the jade glass, giving it to Yin deliberately. "Try this liquor. Our potion and tool pavilion made it. We don't sell it. This liquor is called Passion. I don't know if it suits your taste or not." Yin smiled, receiving the glass. However, he didn't drink it immediately. He just looked at her with bright and sharp eyes. Cunning. Fu Wei cursed him under her breath. She was afraid that he would doubt the liquor. Thus, she tried to calm her nerves as she poured herself a full glass. Then, she slowly took one sip after another until she finished her glass. "I've been drinking it for years, but still, I like it the most." Yin nodded and finished his glass. He felt like he had gulped a mouthful of water from an extremely fresh stream. The fragrance and taste were so good that he couldn't even open his mouth to give it his compliments. This good liquor was like a fresh stream dispersing in his tummy. Yan's 7 emotions and 6 desires were aroused from the bottom of his heart. He suddenly felt an urge to confess to his loved one. Yin eased his mind by using his soul consciousness to check his body. It found nothing strange, so he smiled brightly indeed. "It tastes pure and very good." "Then drink more." Fu Wei was happy discreetly. She tried to be more charming when pouring him another full glass. She smiled and then said, "Well, even if our staff and the organization want to buy this kind of liquor, it costs 100,000 divine crystals per bottle. Outsiders hardly got a chance to taste it." "Oh, so I should drink more." Yin smiled frankly, making a toast. "Thank you for your warm hospitality. Come, we drink." Fu Wei was reluctant, but she could only pour a full glass for herself. She clinked her glass with his as she smiled. She noticed his glass while taking small sips from her glass. "I heard that you're the youngest elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion. I can't see your realm. What's your power Upanishad?" asked Yin curiously. After his soul altar was cleaned with the soul refining fluid, he could know the realm of warriors around him easily. However, he couldn't see Fu Wei's realm. Every time he tried, it was like waving his arms in the thick mist. He couldn't see anything though. "My soul altar is protected by a special soul treasure. You can't see my realm. Fu Wei parted her lips to grin, her jade-like finger pointing at the hairpin in her hair bun. It helps me prevent the soul consciousness from sensing my head. Unless it's an incipient God realm expert, people can't see my real realm. What's your real realm then? Which power Upanishad are you cultivating? Asked Shi with a smile. Second sky of ethereal God realm. I cultivate fire power Upanishad. Most of the alchemists and blacksmiths in Potion and Tool Pavilion cultivate fire power Upanishad. After Fu Wei took 2 glasses of wine, she seemed to freely speak more, and she couldn't help it. Elders in our Potion and Tool Pavilion are all good at refining pellets and secret treasures. I've made the small toys and accessories on my body myself. Haha. My biggest hobby is to fabricate secret treasures from a bunch of mixed cultivating materials. I will feel accomplished as I can achieve something that way. It feels so good to me. I know a little about blacksmithing, Shi said, unable to control his mind, but I don't really invest in this field. I only care to increase my competence and my realm. I hope to push my fighting competence to the peak. Forging tools is just an activity I use to calm down my restless mind. I don't want to put too much effort into it. You know how to forge treasures? Fu Wei was excited, giggling. Can you show me what you've refined? No problem. Shi mind was now defenseless. He didn't know why he became so easy to be talked into things. He took out the 3 bone thorns he had refined and put them on that round table. Drink more, drink more. Fu Wei still remembered her purpose. She poured 1 more glass for Shi before picking up a bone thorn to check. Beams of light sparkled from her delicate fingers, twirling around the bone thorn. Fu Wei's eyes glistened, giving a sincere compliment. You do have a gift in forging treasures. This bone thorn is between level 2 and level 3 of the divine grade. You can be considered a divine grade blacksmith. If you invest more, I'm sure your future attainment will be pretty good. Too bad that I can't distract my mind that much. Shi sighed reluctantly. He instinctively gulped all the liquor in his glass. Then, he cried, they say that your Potion and Tool Pavilion has never joined any war of Agate Star area. You guys will remain neutral forever. Is it true? I'm curious. A big monster like Potion and Tool Pavilion has no ambition. It's unreasonable, right? We don't participate directly in the wars of the Star area, but some elders will discreetly promote or urge the forces to fight against each other. They will use the other's force to get what they want in Agate Star area. Fu Wei explained, for example, Great Elder wants to take a black metal mine in a mineral star, but the holder doesn't want to sell it to him. Then, Great Elder will spread out the news that he will buy that mine at a great price. Naturally, people will come to clear that mineral star and sell the ores to him. Shi was surprised. Seems like you guys aren't always neutral like it is claimed. Of course, we won't be absolutely neutral. Fu Wei sighed and nodded. We will support the forces who have a good relationship with us. We will try our best to subdue the ones who betray us. We will plot against them and make other forces eliminate them. After many years, the forces that were cleared indirectly by Potion and Tool Pavilion could be more than several dozens. At the same time, our internal competition seems to never end. We urge our forces to fight each other. We control the general situation of the entire Agate Star area behind the curtain, and we won't show ourselves in any fight. Shi listened to her earnestly. He nodded in his mind. That's how it is. Potion and Tool Pavilion is much crueler than you think. My parents and relatives were also sacrifices. Fu Wei's eyes were sad and distant. I was born in a small life star. My parents were just ordinary people. One day, my master passed by and he found that I have the trace of fire power Upanishad. He brought me away and taught me how to cultivate. That's how I became an alchemist. However, my little life star was invaded shortly afterward. They even killed civilians. My family was all killed. Many years later, when I became the youngest elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion after my master died, I got to know that Potion and Tool Pavilion had an unwritten rule. To prevent the apprentice from the tie of affection, they would arrange people to kill the apprentice's entire family. My master had arranged another force to kill my family. Fu Wei was down. She merely explained to him the story she'd been hiding for a long time. She had never told anyone before. My master died early. However, when he was alive, he had treated me well, much better than my parents. I used to respect and love him a lot. After I knew it, it felt so painful and resentful. You must hate him a lot. Yin frowned, speaking faintly. If I were you, I would do my best to kill him. Even if he died, I would curse him every day until I die. To enroll a disciple, he had killed all of your family members. Is it a rule of your potion and tool pavilion? Oh man, you guys are so cruel. Thus, I hate this place. I hate the elders in the pavilion. I hope I can crush it. Fu Wei gritted her teeth and lifted her head up all of a sudden. But only when I get the pavilion master position I can have the power to crush them. However, I still need one thing to do that. If I can get it, I can fulfill my wish. Pausing for a while, Fu Wei spoke as if she was begging him. You can help me? I can help you? Yin pointed at himself, his face confused. Yeah, you can. As long as you tell me where the cannon is. Finally, Fu Wei had asked him what she needed to ask. Chapter 992. This book? Chapter 992. This book? Canon? Yin was confused. He thought for a while, and then said carefully, I never heard about that before. I'm afraid that you will be disappointed. Fu Wei's blue eyes sparkled. Her heart was filled with anticipation. In that ancient battleship, did you see the cannon? Fu Wei was hurried. She was a little pale, and she looked lost. From the day she got the information of the 1,000-fold lotus, which gave her clues of the cannon, her mind was always occupied. After a detailed investigation, she confirmed that the elder used to live in the ancient battleship. Her pieces of evidence showed that if Yin found the 1,000-fold lotus, he must know about the cannon. To get the information of the cannon's whereabouts from Yin, she didn't mind her reputation as she drank passion liquor of potion and tool pavilion with him. She had opened her heart to him and told him secrets of potion and tool pavilion and her private stories, the ones that she had buried deep in her heart. She thought that she could get something to make it up. However, hearing Yin say that he doesn't know such a thing, she was so bitter that she even wanted to vomit blood. Yin was sensitive enough to realize her changing mood. Due to the effect of the liquor, Yin wanted to say something. He instinctively pried, What's the cannon? It's a book. Fu Wei was so bitter. She sighed reluctantly. That book can affect the selection of the next pavilion master of potion and tool pavilion. Our party is in a bad situation. If we get the cannon, we may overturn it. A book? Yin's mind flickered. He instinctively touched the fantasy sky ring. A faint halo flashed. The yellowed, dilapidated book emerged, the one he couldn't understand. It fell in his hand. This book? Fu Wei was still sinking in her significant loss. Her beautiful eyes became hot as her soft body shivered. She couldn't help but grab that book. Her slender fingers shivered anxiously. She was so thrilled she ever clutched Yin's big hand. Fu Wei was shocked as if she was electrocuted. Her gentle body trembled hard. Her face became so red it was as if she could drip blood. She couldn't help but yell, Yes, that's it. It's the cannon. You have the cannon. As their hands were touching, Yin could feel the terrifying heat from her jade fingers. However, the feeling of touching something white and so smooth had touched Yin. Fu Wei gripped both the cannon and Yin's fingers. She was shaking. She suddenly reacted and she blushed when she retracted her hand, letting out the cannon that she had ever seen in her dream. Her voice trembled as she said, You tell me, what do you want to exchange for the cannon? Yin was confused. He frowned, but it was hard to recognize. So this book is very important to you? Very, very important. Fu Wei nodded. Her face has never been as solemn as it was now. You tell me and I can satisfy any conditions of yours, as long as you give me the cannon. Then take it. Yin smiled generously, throwing her the book that he couldn't understand. It's useless to me. If you like, I'm giving it to you. About the condition, it's all right. Perhaps it was because of the liquor, or because Fu Wei had opened her heart to him. As Yin hadn't recognized the value of that book, he didn't give any strict condition. His generosity had shaken the maiden heart of Fu Wei. Under the effect of a big thrill, Fu Wei was so excited. She grabbed the book and jolted up as if she had just found a precious treasure. She stepped forward. Under the urge of some emotion she couldn't name, she jumped over and hugged Xuan, screaming, "Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how to say thank you enough. I will carve it into my heart." Fu Wei grabbed the cannon. She was both happy and angry. She didn't feel good, as if she had a mix of feelings right now. After 15 minutes of talking to each other, she had a lot of mixed feelings together. She was pushed between happiness and sadness, which were totally opposite. Together with her private parts violated, Fu Wei felt her mind a mess of gossamers. She suddenly felt that Xuan's face was somehow cute, but somehow also something so disgusting that she hated it. She fought the urge to smash it with one punch. Xuan stood alone in Fu Wei's room, his face strange. The wonderful feeling he just had made him miss it already. Fu Wei was gentle and elegant. Her bearings were pacific and clear like water. People could easily have a good feeling talking to her and relax their defense. This woman usually wore loose garments to hide her voluptuous body. People would never know how wonderful her curves were. As Xuan had the chance to feel it today, he thought that he missed it already. He stood there, recalling that feeling. After a while, he gradually pulled himself together. Looking at the glass on that round table, he knew that liquor was somehow magical. Meditating for 2 hours, the effect of the liquor had vanished. Xuan got up from his dreamy feelings. He immediately regretted it. From Fu Wei's attitude, he knew that the canon he couldn't understand was extremely precious to Potion and Tool Pavilion. Otherwise, Fu Wei wouldn't stick to him like that, and she wouldn't have needed to use this trick on him. She had almost added her body into her plan. I should have talked about the conditions, Xuan thought instinctively. Then, he shook his head, chuckling. He had given away the canon generously without a condition. It was the effect of the liquor. However, Fu Wei telling him her story sincerely had also had a particular impact on him. This woman had to struggle a lot, though. The master she respected had killed her parents indirectly. Surviving in that dark and heavy Potion and Tool Pavilion wasn't as glorious and beautiful as what people saw. If that useless book could overturn Fu Wei's situation, Xuan thought that it was acceptable. As it was valueless in his hand, it could help Fu Wei on something which would be good then. Thud, 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 thud. The low footsteps echoed, and Yuan gingerly appeared at the door. She looked around, but she couldn't find Fu Wei. She slightly paled, hissing, "Where's young elder?" "She is just gone." Xuan glared at her deliberately, talking. "You guys are good at trapping people. You've said all these things to treat me. Well done." And Yuan felt her heart sinking. She spoke sternly. "What did you do to young elder?" Her voice was tense and anxious. She had always protected Fu Wei sincerely. As she worried that Fu Wei could meet any inconvenience, she shouted, "If you dare to touch young elder, even if you have relations to Monster Clan and Demon Clan, Potion and Tool Pavilion won't let it go easily." Xuan snorted, walking towards her. "You go ask her." He passed in Yuan, returning to his cultivating room. And Yun's face was complicated. She hesitated for a while, and then left quickly. The center room of the battleship. Fu Wei held the book in her hand, her face glowing beautifully. She grinned as she was cracked with joy. She couldn't help but mumble to herself, "Canon. It's the real canon. I can have it easily." "Young elder?" And Yuan suddenly appeared. After asking, she was bewildered as she was filled with joy instantly. Pointing at the book, she shivered. Is it real?" "True. It's the canon of Potion and Tool Pavilion that has been missing for tens of thousands of years." Fu Wei took a deep breath, answering her resolutely. And Yuan was dumbstruck. She couldn't help but nod her head. She couldn't make a sound. Fu Wei didn't mind her. She took a deep breath, her bosom rippling mesmerizingly. She touched the ring on her jade fingers, releasing a bright mirror. Fu Wei pulled herself together, releasing the light that made the mirror brighter. Jia Duo's image appeared in the shadow, his face impatient. He scolded. "What happened? Didn't I tell you not to call me if it's not urgent?" We have an insider. It's easy to disclose information if we do long-distance communication. Uncle Duo, I have the cannon. The image in the mirror was stirred up hearing her. Chapter 993, Generous Gift. Chapter 993, Generous Gift, _ Inside the unknown fountain of powers Upanishad, two souls were floating and bobbing like spooky ghost flames searching for something. Different marvelous powers Upanishads moved like outer space light streamers. They swooshed quickly. Each light streamer contained one power Upanishad. There were also space light streamers with the same power Upanishad, but at different levels. It was like developed forms of the same mysteriously mighty power. Obviously, it wasn't the first time that Xuan's host soul and co-soul entered this place. They were like regular customers now. In this area, he had comprehended space power Upanishad and star power Upanishad. However, this place didn't have only one kind of space power Upanishad and star power Upanishad. As he tried to sense, there were dozens of them in the area he had wandered around. They were the performances of the two powers Upanishads. Of course, he wasn't aiming at space power or star power this time. He wanted to accumulate something for his death and life power Upanishad. However, after one round around the place, Xuan was disappointed that he couldn't find any space streamers related to death or life power Upanishad. Metal, fire, wood, lightning, ice, gravity, wind, and the other popular powers Upanishad were easy to find here. However, they were so different to what he was cultivating. Thus, he didn't try to study them. In the blood pool, Blood Devil had used demon blood to perform the special abilities of life power Upanishad, which touched him deeply. He got new cognition of life power Upanishad. Thus, he wanted to see if he could advance life power Upanishad in this place. However, this vast fountain of powers Upanishads was immense and torrential. Various powers Upanishads scattered around endlessly, and every hour he wandered here, he had to consume a lot of energy. However, he could only move within a limited area. If he got out of this safe place, his soul energy would all be consumed, so he shouldn't linger for a long time. Due to his low realm and weak soul, he could only operate in a limited area. Xuan knew this well. Begrudgingly, he couldn't do anything but let his soul immerse in a brilliant space, where there was a pulsation of space power that rippled like unceasing seawater. It had some kind of marvelous space energy that piled up in layers. Xuan let his soul wander in there and slowly quiet down as he tried to comprehend. The space pulsation was the key to build space teleport formation. If he understood this, Xuan could use his energy with the special materials to build the space formation like mother and child sky linking formation, which could connect two life stars. His soul immersed in magical space energy fluctuation. He relaxed and released flows of soul consciousness to resonate with the space energy ripples. He tried carefully to sense each pulse of space. Time flew hurriedly. After an unknown period, his soul felt tired. A thought popped up in his head. He felt like the whole place was turning upside down in panic. When he could react, his soul had returned to the soul altar already. He woke up in his room. The three shadows sitting next to him smiled when they saw him waking up. "Have you finished absorbing the thousand-fold lotus?" Xuan smiled and asked. Pavilion, Leona, and Katua nodded, their eyes full of joy. Katua laughed, speaking loudly and wildly. "Senior, this thousand-fold lotus is really good. My sea of consciousness has expanded twice. My soul consciousness is refined, and my soul altar seems to have been quenched once. How about you?" Xuan smiled, looking at Pavilion and Leona. "I'm about to break to second sky of ethereal god realm." Pavilion smiled, and then turned to Leona. She has generated the ethereal extent. The effects of the thousand-fold lotus are really amazing. Each thousand-fold lotus is worth the price of 8 million divine crystals. Leona nodded quietly. Her savage and stubborn face showed her genuine happiness. In Agate Star area, the thousand-fold lotus was an original incipient grade material that could nurture the soul the best. Even incipient God realm experts could use it to refine their soul. At the same time, It was the precious material to refine many unique soul-class pellets and medicines. It was the rarest and precious item in the market. Indeed, 3 of the 1,000-fold lotuses were absorbed. The 3 experts who had a relationship with Yin all had their souls strengthened greatly. Their realms had improved on a large scale. Of course, all of them were happy. Yin nodded and smiled. All of you have enlarged your sea of consciousness and strengthened your soul. You didn't waste the 1,000-fold lotus. I hope we will all advance during this trip to Shadow Ghostly Prison. I hope we can soon reach the realms we have always yearned for. The 3 of them smiled. Perhaps because their realms improved, Leona and Pavilion had gradually calmed down even though were worried for her father and her man. They were filled with hope for this trip. Fu Wei was here. She wanted to see you, but you were still cultivating, so we stopped her. Ka Tua said with an ambiguous smile. Senior, this woman is good. She is into you. She was really polite when she came here. She treated us well. She even asked if we needed pellets for our cultivation. Do you have something with her? Yin recalled the beautiful experience that happened in Fu Wei's room previously. He was a little bit touched, but his face showed no particular emotion. You think too much. That woman just wants to cooperate with us more in the future. She's a real businesswoman. She will only choose the partner she thinks is worth her cooperation. That woman isn't simple, frowned Pavilion. I can't even see her real realm. She has a high position in Potion and Tool Pavilion and is also the youngest elder. I heard Potion and Tool Pavilion has only 12 elders. Yin nodded quietly. He spoke to Fu Wei. He knew Fu Wei's sad stories, and he knew Fu Wei wanted to destroy Potion and Tool Pavilion. If he disclosed her idea, Fu Wei would be crossed out of Potion and Tool Pavilion. She would suffer, and it would be a disaster. This woman had used the peculiar wine to take information from him, but she also told him her deepest secrets. In some aspect, Yin now kept her biggest secret. If he wanted to harm her, he could make Potion and Tool Pavilion expel her in any minute. I'm going to see her then. Pondering for a while, Yin stood up and left the cultivating room. His cultivating room was inside the battleship. He could reach other places through the stone corridors. However, when he got out of his room this time, he saw a guard of Potion and Tool Pavilion standing at an intersection not far from them. Seeing him come, the guard asked with respect, "Do you need anything, sir? I want to meet your young elder. Please wait for a moment. I'm going to notify them." Okay. That guard left immediately. He flashed like an electric beam between the intersections. Shortly after, he returned and bowed. "Young elder invites you." Yin nodded, following him. The guard didn't lead him to Fu Wei's private room, but instead to the center of the battleship, where they controlled the magical barriers and restrictions that protected the battleship. The green stone ceiling above his head had a vast star map with locations connected to each other by brilliant light beams. It looked like an utmost complicated spider web. Yin lifted his head to read the map. He recognized that it was the layout of Agate Star Area. It was something that every battleship should have for long-distance journeys in the Sea of Stars. The control center of the battleship had layers of glowing imprints of barriers and restrictions. They looked like human fingerprints carved on the stone walls, which were controlled by the soul consciousness. Of course, understanding the barriers and having an approval of them by the battleship were necessary to control it. Yin was just an outsider. Although he knew what those imprints represented, he couldn't control them. Fu Wei sat neatly on a crystal lotus throne in the center of the room. Her long blue dress spread like flower petals, covering her sexy body. She looked like a blooming blue flower. Glancing at Yin, she thinned her lips, waving her hand gently. "Dismiss." The guard who took Yin to this place quietly left, closing the stone behind him. Fu Wei stooped. Blue flames flew out of her palms. An exquisite, small jade cauldron was bouncing in her soft palm. It sent a pleasant fragrance to the air that seeped into people's souls. She was concentrating on refining something. Yin chuckled. He stayed aside, not bothering her. He watched her performance with interest. Fu Wei suddenly felt her heart become a mess under his gaze. Her calm mind suddenly had many unclear thoughts. She was fluttered. She made a mistake while carving the imprint. Boom! A clear sound echoed. It seemed like something in her cauldron had exploded. Fu Wei was confused, her beautiful brows knitting together. She sighed weakly and reluctantly said, "Failed?" Shi Yin just smiled, giving no comment. Fu Wei put her jade cauldron aside, looking at Shi Yin. She was still elegant and calm as usual. "These books are for you. They can help your space power, Upanishad." New books flew and floated like leaves. They moved, swaying in front of Shi Yin. He picked up one of them and glanced at it. Shi Yin was astounded. "Books of space power, Upanishad? Didn't you say that Potion and Tool Pavilion wouldn't sell these books and only members of Potion and Tool Pavilion with some merits could read them?" While talking, he grabbed the books, skimming through them. He became more astonished. They were all instructions and lectures about space power, Upanishad with different branches of the power and their abilities. Although the books didn't say it clearly, Shi Yin knew it would be of help to his cultivation. Space power Upanishad was rare and peculiar. No source of power Upanishad inheritance could have it, and there was almost no book about it. Although Potion and Tool Pavilion was the strongest and wealthiest force in Agate Star area, it had only some writings of warriors who cultivated space power. To other warriors cultivating the same power, these writings were priceless. "Those are the copies I asked my staff to replicate," Fu Wei explained simply. "You helped us greatly this time. This is how I will repay you. We should do that. Besides, I've talked to Uncle Duo myself. He will send a battleship to Demon Blood Star to deliver a group of cultivating materials of around 50 million divine crystals to your fellows." 50 million divine crystals? Shi Yin gawked, his jaws dropping. "You're not kidding, right?" "No joke." Fu Wei smiled, seeing him startled. "With the copies of books of space power Upanishad I gave you, the total value is more than 100 million. This is to pay tribute to you for the canon." Shi Yin shivered as he was thrilled. After a while, he looked at her solemnly. He asked gingerly, "Hey, Miss Fu Wei, you like me, do you?" Chapter 994, The Potion and Tool Pavilion's Crisis. Chapter 994, The Potion and Tool Pavilion's Crisis _ Bull. Fu Wei rolled her eyes, burst out laughing. "You. Haha, turns out you do babble. I always thought that you were kinda serious all the time." Looking at the arrangement of the control center of the battleship and those explicable marks, Shi Yin smiled and then said, "I didn't think that the crap book was worth 100 million divine crystals. I earned a fortune this time." He smiled, speaking about the 3 things they found in that mysterious ancient city. The giant tribe kept the lumber of the life ancient tree of the Wood Clan and the evil dragon skull. They thought that those 2 items were priceless to them. They didn't consider that the unknown book would be valuable. Turns out it was the most precious one. Your vision was much better than the giant tribe. Listening to him, Fu Wei also smiled. The canon is crucial. If you thought 100 million divine crystals wasn't enough, we would have bought it even if you asked for 1 billion divine crystals. Of course, if you dared to ask for 1 billion divine crystals, I think some people in the pavilion would find another way around. Last time, they had drunk the passion liquor. They had opened their hearts to each other with a little romance scene that followed. While they didn't recognize it, the distance between them shortened. Fu Wei didn't feel it difficult to tell Shi Yin the dark business of Potion and Tool Pavilion. She had considered him someone she could reveal her secrets to. She had told him secrets from the bottom of her heart. Shi Yin was curious about Potion and Tool Pavilion. He tried his best to guide their story, making Fu Wei tell him a lot of secrets of Potion and Tool Pavilion. The 12 elders of the pavilion follow 3 different parties. The internal competitions have never ceased. Fu Wei sighed, hesitating. "I always feel like it would be a big change in the pavilion. Someone has started something. They all have close relationships with other star areas forces." Shi Yan's countenance changed. "The other star areas forces?" "Yeah, Shadow Ghostly Prison has many hollow channels that connect to other star areas." "Well, most of them do, but they are all shattered and incomplete." Fu Wei thought for a while and then said, "However, only the Dark Shadow Clan knows those space channel clearly. Great Elder of our organization has a close relationship with Dark Shadow Clan. They have some connection. I used to worry that they would do business with forces in another star area. Maybe they could harm the welfare of Agate Star area. Yin frowned and stood up earnestly. Why are you telling me all these things? Potion and Tool Pavilion in Agate Star area was extremely mysterious. They had private contracts and businesses with strong forces and mighty clans all around. Discreetly, they could make a significant impact on Agate Star area. If someone of this organization cooperated with forces from another galaxy to plot something in Agate Star area, the impact would be immeasurable. Because except for you, I don't know who I can talk to and rant about what is in my mind. Sometimes, holding a secret for too long can be a big burden. Fu Wei gently adjusted her tangled hair draped on her forehead. She said miserably, "Last time we drank, you heard many things about me. It happened anyway. Now, it's okay if I tell you more." Yin nodded quietly. The two of them stayed in the control center of the battleship and spoke about some stuff of Potion and Tool Pavilion. The more stories Fu Wei told him, the more Yin grimaced. Shadow Ghostly Prison was like a key intersection connecting Agate Star area to other galaxies. The mysterious Dark Shadow clan controlled the checkpoint. They moved and operated like ghosts. No one knew what it wanted to do. However, Potion and Tool Pavilion had pieces of evidence prove that Dark Shadow clan has a connection to another star area. The Great Elders Party of Potion and Tool Pavilion still maintained business with Dark Shadow clan. They cooperated closely, and they usually had a private business, which wasn't monitored by the pavilion. Fu Wei guessed that Potion and Tool Pavilion also had some connection to another star area through the Dark Shadow clan. The very first Pavilion Master had stated clearly when he established the organization that Potion and Tool Pavilion would only operate in Agate Star area. It wasn't allowed to contact any other star area. Also, the organization wouldn't join disputes or conflicts of other clans and forces in Agate Star area. Until this generation, Potion and Tool Pavilion seemed to follow the rules of the founder. However, they discreetly reached out to other forces around Agate Star area. Today, they wanted to break the first rule that the Pavilion Master had set. Fu Wei and many other people were alerted since they felt that some mechanism has been triggered. They felt a terrible danger was silently covering all of them. Your Pavilion Master doesn't care at all? Does he know about this? Yin asked after feeling frightened for a while. I'm afraid our current Pavilion Master can't do anything. Fu Wei sighed, explaining. In each generation, the Pavilion Master is the most brilliant blacksmith who can refine divine grade or original incipient grade items. But it's unknown why when their attainment has reached a specific level, they can't break through anymore. When they forge the original incipient grade secret treasures, they often make mistakes. They could break the rules of nature. Our current Pavilion Master had fallen into bedevilment 300 years ago when he was refining an original incipient grade treasure. His soul altar has collapsed. Until today, he has consumed a considerable amount of materials to save his soul from vanishing. He doesn't have free time to manage the pavilion. The same thing happened with the second and the third Pavilion Master. They got some excellent achievements, and then when they refined original incipient grade treasures, they would fall into bedevilment, which led to the collapse of their soul altars. Their souls fragmented little by little. The elders came to the same idea that without the canon, we would never see the marvelous, utmost secret of blacksmithing. That was why all the Pavilion Masters made mistakes. Only the soul of the current Pavilion Master remains, and it's slowly perishing day after day. Thus, the competition to the master position has become fierce. At the same time, we have a rule saying that the one with the cannon can step on the precious throne of the Pavilion Master. The one who has the cannon can understand the most marvelous essence of blacksmithing. That way, he could avoid falling into the same mistake of the previous Pavilion Masters. Now you know how crucial the cannon is to us, right? Yin nodded slowly. Yeah, it's indeed crucial. That's why you have to let yourself suffer drinking that kind of wine with me to take information from me. Fu Wei blushed, rolling her eyes at him. She was a bit embarrassed, so she shouted at Yin to hide it. You bastard! Can you not brag about what you've done? I prohibit you from talking about it from now on. Yin was surprised. He burst out laughing. He nodded, indicating he understood. Pausing for a while, he decided to leave. As he got a lot of information, he needed time to digest and plan something all of a sudden. Fu Wei got up. She wanted to see him off. However, as soon as she stood up, her deep and bright blue eyes gazed at a mark on the wall. That mark stayed in a corner, glowing in the fulgent purple light. That light was rippling a lot as if it had something to report. Fu Wei frowned, pondering. She didn't ask Shi Yin to leave as she extended her beautiful arms, touching the mark. The purple light slowly twisted and projected the hologram of a battleship moving in the dim-lit universe. There were many people running to and fro on the battleship. However, it wasn't clear enough to see. It reacts to battleships around, Fu Wei explained. That battleship isn't far from us. It also goes to Shadow Ghostly Prison. Anyway, that ship doesn't have a symbol of any force. I don't know which force it belongs. Shi Yin nodded as he understood. The battleship he was standing on and the other battleships that Potion and Tool Pavilion sold weren't similar. This battleship could defend and attack with the best barriers and restrictions. It could even block soul consciousness. It was absolutely the best of the best battleships. They could stay inside the battleship and observe the shape and trajectory of the battleships moving near them while they couldn't see them. If Fu Wei wanted, she could use the tremendous attack system of this battleship to wreck that battleship and kill the warriors there in just a blink of an eye. This was also one of the formidable abilities of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Shi Yin didn't bother with that battleship very much. He nodded and left. However, after taking a step, he felt something as the demon blood in his body had a subtle vibe. He halted, frowning as he watched the battleship projected by the purple light. His eyes became strange. Perhaps it was because his clear soul altar had been refined by the soul refining fluid, which had cleaned up all the contaminants, together with life power Upanishad and demon blood. Recently, Shi Yin found that he could sense the location of people who had some relation to him within a specific distance. For example, when he was in the Devil Blood Star, he could know the location of Yang Zhua and Shi Jin, the ones who had a relation to him. The vibes sent out from his demon blood told him that Battleship was carrying someone he knew. If it weren't his friend or a member of his family, the demon blood wouldn't have any vibe. It might be a new ability when the life power Upanishad and demon blood combine together to another level. What's going on? Fu Wei turned and looked at him. Is that battleship important? Shi Yin gave a slight nod. Fu Wei thought for a while and then suggested, then shall we go there and check it out? Initially, she wanted to avoid that battleship. However, seeing Shi Yin move, she offered. All right, it's good if we can see it. That battleship has someone I know. Shi Yin thanked her, nodding. Fu Wei released magical light beams from her fingers, which flew towards an unknown mark. She was driving the battleship and changing its route. Shi Yin was sensitive enough to feel the energy in the battleship moving fiercer and faster as the ship turned. From his angle, he could see the battleship projected by the purple light get clearer. Figures on the deck slowly became clearer. PFFF. A drop of demon blood exploded. The magical sensing moved together with soul consciousness, reaching afar like an invisible rope towards that battleship. His eyes shrank as he focused on that battleship, which was slowly zoomed in. He followed the subtle sense of the demon blood to search something. After a while, he was shaken. His face was dumbstruck as he couldn't believe what he was seeing. In that place, he saw two silhouettes among the crowd. A slightly boorish old man was hunched, his mouth moving gingerly as if he was explaining something. Standing next to the old man was a glamorous figure. She had a beautifully slender pair of legs. Her small face was delicate and cute. However, she looked so angry as she was shouting at the old man. Zwisher, Shi Yin hissed. Chapter 995, Xin Ming and Zwisher. Chapter 995, Xin Ming and Zwisher _. Leonard was the leader of a small force called Drifting Cloud in southwest of Agate Star area. He was at Third Sky of Original God Realm, which was just one step away from Ethereal God Realm. Chief of the Drifting Cloud was a second sky of Ethereal God Realm expert who always operated in southwest of Agate Star area. This force consisted of warriors from everywhere. They provided warriors to Shadow Ghostly Prison and transported people to earn divine crystals. Shadow Ghostly Prison was a place of year-round chaos. However, it had many peculiar and precious mineral stars, many of them unowned. Warriors in southwest of Agate Star area would take risks and visit Shadow Ghostly Prison for a better cultivating condition. The danger was also a kind of opportunity. Many had died in Shadow Ghostly Prison. However, some people were lucky enough to collect a lot of cultivating materials. When they got back, they made a little fortune. Leonard usually gathered warriors from everywhere in Southwest region and transported them to Shadow Ghostly Prison using his battleship. That was how he earned divine crystals for Drifting Cloud. He was indeed a little powerful in the organization. His voice mattered somehow. Leonard was standing in a corner of the battleship. His lewd eyes were scanning a long-limbed girl, beaming a cold grin. He had laid his eyes on this girl since she had been on board. He had waited for a chance to flirt with her ever since. However, that innocent girl didn't bat an eye at him. She stood in a corner with that old man. They were talking from time to time, which made Leonard's plan fail. Although he was a little boss of Drifting Cloud, he didn't dare do things wantonly. He decided to use another way to force the girl. Looking at her sexy legs, Leonard gulped. His mind was disordered while his eyes became hotter. Before we got on board, we had submitted 2,000 divine crystals. It should have been enough to transport us to Shadow Ghostly Prison. What do you mean you're asking for more? Ming grimaced, thundering with red eyes. However, he was anxious as he wasn't strong enough. He knew Leonard was a small boss of Drifting Cloud with Third Sky of Original God Realm. This man was also famous in the Southwest. Ming had heard the rumors about this pervert before, but he didn't think that Leonard would lay his eyes on Xuan. Ming and Xuan soon came to Agate Star area. They had landed on a mineral star in southwest of Agate Star area. When they were still in Grace Mainland, Ming was the peak level 9 monster. He was just one step away from being level 10. Ming's understanding of Grace Mainland was much deeper than the majority of people living there. He had soon found a teleport formation that his ancestors left in Grace Mainland. The energy from that formation was weak. It was just enough to deliver him and Xuan. Xuan had the bloodline of his black tortoise holy ancestor. After he had found her, he had tried his best to nourish her. As he knew the energy in Grace Mainland was about to be all drained, he lied to Xuan and took her to southwest of Agate Star area. After they had arrived in Agate Star area, Ming finally knew how small he was in this area despite his peak status in Grace Mainland. He knew that the high-grade star area had more intimidating existences. Their lives in Agate Star area weren't pleasurable. They had to struggle a lot. Danger awaited them with each step. He had brought Xuan to be the miner, the farmer cultivating herbs, and more. They had lived gingerly and didn't dare to provoke any strong warriors. Xuan had made every effort to succeed. Her innate endowment was unparalleled. Soon, she had reached King God Realm. She understood the mysteries of her bloodline and the power Upanishad of the holy beast Black Tortoise. Ming felt hopeful. Recently, Ming accidentally found a piece of his holy ancestor Black Tortoise in a small shop. He asked, and they told him it was from Shadow Ghostly Prison. Ming was excited. He wanted to take Xuan to Shadow Ghostly Prison to find the body of the Black Tortoise. They wanted to see if Xuan could receive the most essence inheritance from Ming's holy ancestor. It would help Xuan break through to another realm. Shadow Ghostly Prison was really far from southwest of Agate Star area. They could encounter a lot of dangers too. Ming and Xuan weren't rich. They couldn't afford a battleship or a war chariot. Since it was a long trip ahead, they weren't sure whether they could protect themselves or not. Thus, Ming came to Drifting Cloud, using his savings to pay 2,000 divine crystals to get on this battleship that was heading to Shadow Ghostly Prison in the hope of finding the Black Tortoise's body there. Ming hoped that it could complete the inheritance for Xuan. From the day they got on board, Ming found Leonard looking at Xuan with his perverted eyes. As Ming was a cunningly wise, old monster, he knew what Leonard wanted. He took care of Xuan, staying quietly in a corner of the battleship. They didn't talk to people much or cause any dispute. Ming hoped that Leonard would forget him and elegant Xuan so they could dodge this disaster. It was too bad that Leonard often came to talk to them over and over again. suggesting was sure to accompany him. Ming had tried his best to protect her. Since they were staying with many people, Leonard didn't dare to act rashly because he could shame the drifting cloud with his deeds. After several times, he had to step back. However, Leonard decided to move again today. This time, he didn't come with good intentions. He said that the divine crystals Ming paid them weren't all good. He wanted them to pay again. Ming understood that Leonard was playing hard. However, Ming felt a little hopeless as he tried to resist. We've checked your 2,000 divine crystals carefully. Some of them are of bad quality. Leonard lifted his head, talking coldly. You guys have to submit 1,000 high-quality divine crystals, or else you will have to leave the ship and take care of yourself. Ming and Xuan had spent all of their savings to pay 2,000 divine crystals. They had nothing left. If they left the battleship now, they wouldn't be able to survive in this vast universe without divine crystals to refill their energy. Ming paled in anger. When we paid the divine crystals, you guys had them checked at the spot. Why was it a mistake? There's a mistake. Leonard gave a faint grin as he relaxing. You guys pay the divine crystals or get lost. Oh right. You can also just let this little girl escort me while I drink and chat for a while. Perhaps with proper payment, I will be satisfied and then I will let you stay. You bastard. I'm not going with you. Xuan's small face was filled with rage. She put her hands on her waist, telling that pervert off. After so many years, Xuan was still innocently beautiful. She was like a fresh flower that had just bloomed. Her tight warrior clothing lingered on her white-skinned body. Her legs were long and mesmerizing. Her tight clothes drew the curves of her body. Together with the naive, small face, she made others' hearts beat faster. Leonard guffawed, his eyes like a snake's that wantonly raked through Xuan's body. He swallowed his saliva. Little Mei, why do you need to do that? Drink and enjoy with me. You can save yourself from dying in the galaxy. It's good for you either way. Don't worry. I won't mistreat you. Think about it. Even if I have to die, I won't go with you, Xuan said through her gritted teeth. This ship didn't transport only Ming and Xuan. There were many warriors of unknown origins. Most of them didn't have powerful backgrounds, and they were just at True God Realm, King God Realm, or Original God Realm. However, all of them together weren't enough to deal with Leonard's force. The drifting cloud had rules. Usually, when they transported passengers to Agate Star area, the power of the captain and the guards were more than sufficient to subdue the passengers. It was to prevent the case of passengers trying to take control of the ship. Since they didn't have strong backgrounds, they had to use drifting cloud service to get into Agate Star area. At this moment, all of them combined weren't enough to threaten Leonard. Thus, although they knew what Leonard wanted and that he just wanted to trouble the others, they couldn't stand up and deliver justice. They could only look at Xuan and Ming with their sorry faces as they sighed. Seems like you do want to die. Leonard thundered when Xuan infuriated him. His face darkened gradually. I'm giving you guys 2 hours to think about it. When the time's up and you can't give me an answer that satisfies me, I will throw you overboard. Leonard snorted, jumping to the tower atop the battleship. From that height, he coldly looked at people like a god who held their lives in his hands. Little girl, if they throw you out of the battleship, you won't survive, someone whispered, giving advice. If you don't have enough divine crystals, just bear the inconvenience a little while. Being alive is more important than anything else, you know? Yes, compared to life, dignity and purity mean nothing. Relax and survive. Just consider it as something that has bitten you. Someone told her while looking at the tower. He had to lower his voice as he was afraid that Leonard could hear him. First, we have to survive. We will find the chance to take revenge later, said another person. As they were all miserable, they had a good feeling for Xuan. No one wanted to see the innocent girl get violated. And they didn't want to see Xuan and Ming get kicked off the ship to death. They tried to console Xuan with the hope that she would have a wider vision. I would rather die. Xuan's face was resolute. She took a deep breath, looking at Ming. Old man, I'm sorry. I may make you disappointed. Ming paled indignantly. He looked at Leonard on the tower, clenching his jaws. We will leave the battleship. As long as we can survive, this man will pay a big price for what he's done today. But he was so bitter and miserable. This universe was endless. He had just the level 10 cultivation base, and Xuan had just second sky of King God Realm. They didn't have divine crystals to refill their consumed energy if they left the ship. Once they jumped into outer space, they needed the divine crystals immediately. Although they wouldn't meet the space energy storm, they couldn't resist for a long time. If they weren't lucky, they would die shortly after. Ming suddenly regretted it. He thought that he shouldn't bring Xuan to this place. If they had still been in Grace Mainland, they would still have had a chance to survive even if the earth and heaven energy there was running out. At most, they would only need to use their energy and become mortal. However, Ming's face was reluctant and desperate. We won't wait for him to kick us out. We will leave now. Xuan gritted her teeth, glaring at Leonard maliciously. She prepared to jump off the battleship. Who are you? However, at this moment, surprising screams arose from the other corner of the battleships. Warriors of drifting cloud were crying in fear. Chapter 996. Send them off. Chapter 996. Send them off, _. After the screams arose, many passengers on the battleship became anxious. They wanted to know what was going on. Usually, it was easy to meet other battleships traveling in the galaxy. Unless they encountered enemies, they didn't fight. However, landing on someone else's battleship wasn't okay without permission. Leonard stood on the control tower of the battleship, his face cold and stern. Hearing the noise, he couldn't help but look. After the first glance, he was shaken. He descended from the tower and shouted, "We're from the drifting cloud. Why are you getting on our ship? Don't you know the rules?" More than 10 King God Realm and original God Realm warriors emerged from different areas of the battleship. They stood by Leonard with grimaced faces. Xuan, Pavilion, Leona, and Ka-Tual landed on the deck, walking towards Xuan's general direction without batting an eye at anyone else. Seeing Leonard and his guards standing in their way, Xuan frowned, but he didn't bother giving them a look. He just kept sauntering forward. One guard of Leonard made a step forward and tried to stop them with a pale face. Ka-Tuo's eyes rolled around as he laughed evilly. A flow of chaotic energy twisted, giving him an intimidating suction force, which then drew that guard towards him despite how hard the guard was struggling. "Get lost." Ka-Tuo laughed, releasing his power. His energy rippled like a rolling tide, which sent the guard horizontally several hundred meters away. He was blown from this end of the battleship to the other end. His body had a lot of deep cuts as if he was whipped with thorny bushes. Leonard changed his countenance, looking at Ka-Tuo with fear. He glared at Pavilion and Leona, his face becoming more solemn. Xuan didn't bat an eye. He continued walking towards his target. Warriors of drifting cloud and the passengers made way seeing him coming. They were all frightened. What happened? Fighting? Ming's stooped body straightened, his spirit raising. If drifting cloud gets into some trouble, they won't have spare time to mind us. We don't need to jump off the battleship now. Let's see the situation then. Innocent Xuan nodded. She quietly looked at the general direction where the noise arose. Shortly after, her clear eyes brightened. Her soft body got stiff. Her succulent lips parted as if she saw something unbelievable. She instinctively gasped for her breath. Xuan was dumbstruck for seconds. She used both hands to rub her eyes and then shouted, "Xuan Ji." Ming's body stiffened. He was shocked and couldn't help but look at the oncoming warriors. His line of sight fixed on that warrior as he was cheered up. Xuan's keen eyes scanned the crowd and directly caught the beautifully tall figure. His dark face cracked a warm smile. "It's you, indeed." Xuan nodded excitedly. Yeah, it's us. Xuan Ji, you? Why are you in Agate Star area? Why are you here?" She was so happy that she couldn't find her words. "Where are my father and grandfather? Are they all right? How are they in Grace Mainland? Is everything okay?" "They're all in Agate Star area." Xuan sighed and chuckled. While talking, he reached for Xuan. Ming looked at Xuan deep in the eye. The shock he felt was indescribable. As he met this man in Agate Star area, he didn't know what to say. He knew things this young man had done in the perpetual night forest. Yin had gathered different clans to resist the Ghost Mark clan, Corpse clan, and Dark Spirit clan. He wanted to use the force of Monster clan too. Ming had observed that battle discreetly. He saw the utmost 8 Purgatory City in the perpetual night forest get to its height. They had expelled Ghost Mark clan, Corpse clan, and Dark Spirit clan out of perpetual night forest. Yin had protected his people. It has been so long since they last met. Ming released his soul consciousness to sense the young man. Chaotic moods reflected in his mind that he couldn't calm them down no matter what. I can't figure out his realm. His realm is higher than mine? Ming was bewildered. His eyes sparkled as his mind was startled. He was startled, and he stayed put at his spot. Who are you? Leonard's voice arose. He brought the guards of Drifting Cloud gathering by Yin. His voice was gingerly. We're the Drifting Cloud from the southwest. We don't have any grudge against you guys. Why are you on our battleship? Seeing him, Xuan and Ming were so indignant that they couldn't hide it. Xuan glared at Leonard maliciously. She didn't know why, but she felt so safe when she saw Yin. However, she didn't know Yin's realm, so she was still worried. She lowered her voice, talking to Yin. Drifting Cloud is a strong force in the southwest. The leader has second sky of ethereal god realm. Yin GG. Can you take us out of here? Her voice was uncertain. Xuan and Ming had to struggle a lot in Agate Star area. They had walked each step with difficulty and danger. After so many years, they had known many intimidating warriors. In their minds, Drifting Cloud was already a dominant force. Xuan didn't want Yin to have any dispute with Drifting Cloud. She just wanted to get rid of this battleship. In her view, not being harmed by Drifting Cloud was already a perfect ending. Drifting Cloud? Yin shook his head. Never heard of them before. Is it a small and weak force? Xuan was surprised, jabbering. Very strong. Yin just chuckled. He asked, You've quarreled with them. What happened? Sir, if you have a good relationship with them, I won't calculate their debts anymore. I will let them go to Shadow Ghostly Prison with us. Leonard felt tense, and he hurriedly expressed his opinion. Who made you talk? Shut up. Ka-Tua glowered at him, snorting with a ferocious aura. A murderous aura rose from his body. Leonard paled. His lips trembled, but he didn't talk. Xuan and Ming were surprised. Looking at Yin, they thought that they were dreaming. During this trip, Leonard was the wanton little boss here. No one dared to quarrel with him on this ship or even talk loudly. Leonard was the master of this battleship. He could even control people's lives. He could make up anything to trouble the passengers. However, he shut his mouth in front of that brutal man. What was going on? Xuan had so many questions in her mind. She looked at Ka-Tua anxiously. They troubled us on purpose. They want Xuan to escort him. Ming contemplated and then explained their situation. The more he talked, the darker and colder his face became. He has just told us that he would throw us off the battleship if we didn't let Xuan serve him. While Ming was talking, Yan's dark face raked through Leonard. Under his gaze, Leonard was anxiously restless. He felt that something terrible would happen shortly. Leonard took a deep breath, giving him more guts. He said coldly, I'm a member of Drifting Cloud. Told you I don't know names of small forces. Yin waved his hand, talking. All right, that's it. Send them off. Leonard and the other warriors of Drifting Cloud were baffled. The other passengers were shocked. They couldn't react to what Yin said. They didn't know what he meant. However, in the next moment, they knew what he meant. The painful, mournful screeching echoed in this quiet battleship. Phalon, Leona, and Ka-Tua seemed to turn into demons. With dark and harsh countenances, they moved between the warriors of Drifting Cloud like lightning. Drifting Cloud's warriors screamed in fear, trying to run for their lives as if they were encountering spooky ghosts. Blood splashed. People were ripped apart. Their soul altars were burned down. They perished, leaving nothing behind. Leonard, the small boss of Drifting Cloud who had swaggered wantonly during this trip, was in the hand of an old woman. She placed one of her hands on his head. Leonard's godbody rotted at a speed that naked eyes could observe, like someone had dipped him into the dense acid substance. Shortly after, he turned into a blood puddle on the ground. They could even see the terrible footage of Leonard's skull melting down bit by bit. It was so nauseating that they almost vomited. The woman who looked like a wailing ghost was like a messenger of death. She pulled the Drifting Cloud's warrior into absolute darkness. People could only hear the warriors begging in the dark. Gradually, the noise faded. The brutal man laughed fiendishly. He grabbed Drifting Cloud's warriors as if he was picking up small chickens. He just ripped them apart deliberately and brutally. The others couldn't help but shiver. Their legs became soft and couldn't support their bodies anymore. Pavilion, Leona, and Ka-Tua were like hungry wolves moving through a sheep pasture. They had risen the blood shower in this battleship. Warriors of Drifting Cloud had the symbol of their force on their clothes. They could recognize them at first glance. They ground Drifting Cloud warriors, killing every one of them in their sight. It seemed like they didn't want to leave any live witness. Xuan, Ming, and Xuan were petrified, standing by Xuan. They looked at the bloody massacre on the battleship, watching the muscular Drifting Cloud warriors being killed like they were tiny ants being smashed. The two of them were panic-stricken. Are they, the powerful King Godrealm and original Godrealm guards of Drifting Cloud? The two of them were terrified. Shortly after, around 100 warriors of Drifting Cloud in this battleship were slaughtered. They were now bones or blood puddles on the ground here and there. Xuan squinted. He felt a little joy as he absorbed the essence chi from the dead. He smiled relaxedly. Xuan, Ming, and Xuan were still sinking in their terrible fright. They couldn't react. Ka-Tua laughed, walking towards them. He had killed a lot, and he was stirred up now. His fierce eyes raked through the group of passengers who shivered as if they had fallen into an ice chamber. They didn't dare to move an inch of their bodies. Senior, do you want to clear them all? Those people can benefit us a bit, anyway. Ka-Tua lowered his voice and suggested. Ka-Tua liked killing. As he knew Xuan's marvelous absorption ability, he had another thought. He wanted to kill all the low-realm warriors on this battleship to advance his power. Pavilion and Leona also looked at Xuan with asking eyes. Ka-Tua had muttered so others people besides SK, Xuan, and Xuan Ming couldn't hear him. However, as the others saw his malicious eyes, none of them felt well. Xuan frowned, looking at the shivering warriors of different races. He said faintly, "Kill them all?" Xuan nodded continually. Another ferocious aura was shot out. Xuan paled. She couldn't help but shout, "Xuan Jiji, don't kill them. They didn't bully me. I'm begging you, don't let them kill more." Xuan's screeching made the other passengers so frightened. People screamed and cried pathetically. Xuan frowned, pondering for a while. He waved his hand. "All right, let's go." Ka-Tua was disappointed. He sighed, speaking to Pavilion and Leona. "Oh, that's too bad." Pavilion and Leona were indifferent. "Xuan, Xuan Ming, come with me." Xuan nodded to the other two and brought them flying out of the battleship, moving to a dark area of the galaxy. Chapter 997. Inexplicable Shock. Chapter 997. Inexplicable Shock _ Xuan Ming and Xuan followed Xuan flying in the dark universe. Xuan Ming looked at the refined body in front of him, his eyes complicated. He had a regret that he couldn't hide in his face. He had always remembered this young man. He was the most outstanding talent of Human Clan in Grace Mainland. He used to raise a storm, cooperating with Monster Clan in Perpetual Night Forest to resist other clans. He won in the end. At that moment, this young man had only true God Realm cultivation base. During the Great War that happened in Perpetual Night Forest, Yinlong and the Monster Clansmen had asked Xuan Ming if he wanted to join this operation. However, Xuan Ming had always cared for Xuan. He wanted to deny it, but he couldn't shake Xuan's persistent will. In the end, he allowed the Monster Clan to join that epic battle. In that year, Xuan Ming was the peak warrior of Grace Mainland, the leader of the monster clan in Perpetual Night Forest. He was the decision-maker of his clan. In that year, this young man had shown his talent and lead his team to victory. He had helped his people settle in Perpetual Night Forest. In that year, this young man wasn't bad in Ming's eyes. But he wasn't bad. Ming didn't put him in his mind. He helped him because of Xuan. Times flew. Things change. Meeting up today in Agate Star area, this young man had the realm and powers that he couldn't see through. He also has 3 bloodthirsty warriors accompanying him. They smashed Drifting Cloud's warriors, the ones that Ming couldn't even have the thought of resisting against. The young man's team had crushed them all. It hasn't been 100 years yet, and this man in Agate Star area has reached such high level. Ming had an inexplicable shock. Looking at the young man in front of him, Ming felt like he had made a wrong presumption that year. A big mistake, indeed. The young man had surpassed him and was heading to the marvelous heights that he could never imagine. Not only did he settle down in Agate Star area, he also seemed to have a better life here. Ming felt bitter. He sighed reluctantly. He knew some people were born to be fighters. Such types of people were never able to be predicted. Sure, you killed Leonard of Drifting Cloud. Aren't you afraid? Xuan asked as she was frightened. After that shocking scene, she had immeasurable respect towards Xuan. Her voice wasn't as smooth as it used to be. In her mind, Drifting Cloud was an intimidatingly powerful force with many warriors and a second sky of ethereal god realm warrior. They were famous in the southwest. She thought that they were a force that she could never resist. However, Xuan's warriors were like brutal gods that had slaughtered the others. Xuan was happy at that moment, but now she somehow felt anxiously insecure. She was afraid that Xuan had provoked great trouble and that the Drifting Cloud would chase after him to kill him. It's okay. Let alone Leonard. If the master of Drifting Cloud were on the ship, he would be killed too. Xuan snickered, his aura surging torrentially. Almost 100 warriors were massacred. Most of them were at King God Realm and Original God Realm. While their essence chi was being filtered through his acupuncture points, Xuan had a premonition. After he had digested this energy, he would inevitably break to another level and easily reach third sky of Original God Realm. His realm was secure and strengthened. Now, he just needed sufficient energy to break through. The previous slaughter was enough for him to transform his energy. Are you sure? Everything will be all right? Xuan asked carefully. Xuan smiled, shaking his head and talking firmly. Don't worry. From now on, you don't need to struggle to survive anymore. Xuan's eyes brightened. She clenched her small fists. Her innocent face now had a new, different lively aura. Ming was suddenly baffled. He looked ahead of them and his face changed as he couldn't help but shout, "Battleship! It's so huge!" Xuan saw that and screamed in astonishment. What an amazing battleship! In front of them was the anchored battleship of Potion and Tool Pavilion. It was several thousand meters long and hovered like a dormant, ancient beast. In this dark space, it gave people an imposing feeling. Drifting Cloud's battleship was just a toy compared to this one. It was 10 times smaller. Although Xuan and Ming weren't experts in this field, they knew that the battleship in front of them was of the top quality battleships in Agate Star area. Drifting Cloud's battleship was nothing compared to this one. Of course, their values were much different. Ming was anxious, watching here and there. He looked at Xuan's team, who was quite calm. He suddenly understood and asked, "What's that battleship doing here?" "Waiting for us," Xuan chuckled. Ming and Xuan were so surprised. They looked at that battleship with fear, their eyes so strange. Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion was wearing a long blue dress, standing on the deck of the battleship. She looked like an elegant and gorgeous blue flower. She beamed a smile, waving at them and urging, "Hurry up." Ming and Xuan looked at Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion and the flag on the ship. They suddenly recalled the force that they had heard in their legends. Potion and Tool Pavilion. Are they people of Potion and Tool Pavilion? Ming's voice trembled worriedly. Potion and Tool Pavilion was really famous in Agate Star area. Its name was even more well-known than intimidating forces everywhere. It was the most mysterious and unpredictable force. Compared to Potion and Tool Pavilion, Drifting Cloud wasn't worth holding its shoes or having its voice matter. Basically, they weren't on the same level. Ming knew that the strong forces in the southwest considered doing business with Potion and Tool Pavilion for their glory. The southwest was a remote area anyway. Every time the battleship of Potion and Tool Pavilion arrived, masters of the strongest forces there would sway through the crowd in order to get approval from Potion and Tool Pavilion. In Ming's heart, Potion and Tool Pavilion was one of the most influential forces in Agate Star area. It was a force that they could only look at and not be able to touch. This organization was the most terrifying existence in legend they had never seen before. However, the battleship of Potion and Tool Pavilion anchored here to wait for Xuan's team today. What kind of level has he reached? Ming didn't dare to imagine further. While Ming and Xuan were perplexed, layers of barriers of the battleship opened, making a channel for them to land. At the moment they landed on the deck of the ship, layers of barriers closed again. The aura of this battleship disappeared, as if it had vanished in this universe from this moment. Xuan and Ming became more frightened. Now, they understood how mighty Potion and Tool Pavilion was. Gg, are you a member of Potion and Tool Pavilion? Xuan stammered. She became helpless with her limbs. No, he isn't. Fu Wei smiled gently. Our Potion and Tool Pavilion doesn't have such a fortune. He's arrogant. He doesn't like us. Fu Wei still kept it in her mind. Xuan had denied her offer, making her feel lost. She knew Xuan had a close relationship with Monster Clan and Demon Clan. He would never join Potion and Tool Pavilion. She was disappointed with this. That was why she teased them. Ming and Xuan were bewildered. Looking at Xuan at this moment, they found the man to be more mysterious. This is the youngest elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion, Fu Wei. Xuan smiled and introduced. This is my little sister, an old friend. I hope Miss Fu Wei will take care of her well. I'm going to cultivate for a while. Please help me with this. Don't worry, leave it to me. Fu Wei smiled and said. Xuan nodded to Xuan and Ming, who were still baffled. You guys stay here. Don't worry about anything. After I'm done with my cultivation, I'm going to find you. We'll talk. Xuan and Ming nodded instinctively, though they were filled with shock. Potion and Tool Pavilion had only 12 elders. Each of them held powers. They were all legendary existences in Agate Star area. Ming and Xuan knew this well. The gentle girl in front of them was one of the elders of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Also, rumors said that she was the youngest one with the best innate talents. That young elder had treated Xuan very well and was very friendly. What kind of position did he have in this Agate Star area? Ming felt lost and down. Comparing his helter-skelter situation to Xuan's, a bitter feeling flooded his heart that he couldn't drive it away. Xuan and Fei Lan's group left immediately, heading into the battleship. Fu Wei smiled tenderly. She came and held Xuan's hand. What a cute little sister. Come with me. I'm going to give you something nice. She nodded to Yun, asking, treat this venerable gentleman well. Ming was surprised and kept saying thanks. Oh please, don't be so polite. Ming felt like a dream staying in this huge battleship guarded by the elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion. He felt as if he was walking on thin ice. He couldn't adapt to this environment, just like an old countryman entering a royal palace. No matter what he tried, he felt so uncomfortable. Sir, come with me. I'm going to show you your place in the cultivating room. Yun bent her body slightly, although she disdained him. For what Xuan had supported her party, she appreciated him much. He had given her weak party a chance to overturn everything. As they had to give Xuan's face, she was hospitable to Ming. With a faint smile, she led Ming to the battleship. Fu Wei directly took Xuan to her private room. She smiled and then asked, Are you close to Xuan? Oh yes. We were born in the same city. I've known him since I was a little girl. Xuan also felt the pressure. She admired and respected this tender woman. Does he live well in Agate Star area? Him? Of course, he's good. The chiefs of Monster Clan and Demon Clan favor him. He doesn't have anything to be afraid of in this star area. He will be the new star of Agate Star Area. Fu Wei smiled. Tell me something about him. I'm curious. He was also powerful in our place. He has always been powerful. Xuan was anxious, telling the other Shi stories. Xuan was naive. She didn't know that Fu Wei just wanted to pry her. She was tense. However, Fu Wei tried to guide her and help her relax. She started to talk and she couldn't stop. Her voice was like the birds singing. When she came to the fun facts, she laughed and giggled cheerfully. Fu Wei listened to her attentively. Sometimes, she would say something to make the atmosphere better. She made Xuan feel more relaxed. Fu Wei didn't know Shi real identity. Potion and Tool Pavilion didn't have any record about him, either. As she finally had a chance, she knew how to seize it. She hated that she couldn't ask to identify at least 18 generations of his family. As Xuan was telling her his stories, Fu Wei became more interested. She smiled like warm sunlight. Her maiden heart sent out vibes. Chapter 998. The Third Sky of Original God Realm. Chapter 998. The Third Sky of Original God Realm. Inside the battleship. Xuan's acupuncture points in his body sparkled like diamonds. Bright beams of light were emitted dazzlingly. His aura was sharp like a sword while he was sitting cross-legged. Pavilion, Leona, and Ka Tuo surrounded him in a triangle formation. They looked at him, yearning. Time flew quickly. Energy fluctuations on Xuan's body surged fiercely. Pure energy overflowed from his acupuncture points, seeping towards his bones and essence chi ancient tree. His energy surged unceasingly, making his aura more intimidating. After a while, Xuan's aura gradually calmed down. The light from his acupuncture points dimmed and vanished. Sitting quietly for a while, he opened his eyes, chuckling. You guys don't have a chance to gather more energy this time. Pavilion and the other two were bewildered and then nodded silently. Xuan got up, stretching his body. Joints in his body moved, producing clear and pleasant sounds like pearls colliding. Third Sky of Original God Realm. Xuan smiled. This time, his breakthrough was as smooth as a stream joining the river. His essence chi ancient tree grew, and his sea of consciousness extended. Everything went smooth and logically. He reached the new realm easily, which was the magical result of achieving the realm earlier. However, the deaths of 100 warriors of Drifting Cloud were just enough for Xuan to break through to Third Sky of Original God Realm. He didn't refine extra energy to send to Pavilion and the other two. Most of the dead warriors were at King God Realm, and some of them were at Original God Realm. Since their realms weren't high, the energy refined was limited. He got just enough to reach the new level. Senior, it's good that you can break through. We aren't hurried. When we get to Shadow Ghostly Prison, we will have a lot of chances. Ka Tuo forced a smile. Pavilion and Leona nodded. Xuan smiled and didn't say more. He got out of the cultivating room, telling the guard standing by his door that he wanted to meet Fu Wei. The guard led his way. Shortly after, Xuan arrived in Fu Wei's private room. The blue arched ceiling of this room was filled with pieces of gemstones, which was a resemblance to the starry sky. It illuminated the room with tender light, giving it an elegant and warm atmosphere. Xuan closed her eyes, her hands holding a lot of divine crystals. She was absorbing the energy of the divine crystals and the medical efficacy of the marvelous pellets she had eaten. Her face was calm like the water as her god domain appeared automatically. Water waves rippled around her like the deep sea. The black tortoise was the holy beast of water element. As Xuan got the inheritance from its bloodline, she knew water power Upanishad. Her god domain looked like a vast, torrential sea. It appeared quietly like the nature of water. Her aura was also immense and tender, making people relax. Xuan was cultivating in silence. Fu Wei was wearing a long blue dress, which exposed her white shoulder. She was drinking and watching Xuan with glistening eyes. She couldn't hide her surprise, indeed. She had given Xuan a lot of precious pellets and let her cultivate here. After the girl had swallowed the pellets, their medicinal efficacy quickly expanded. Instantaneously, Xuan's realm started to change subtly. Under the Fu Wei's gaze, Xuan began to comprehend water power Upanishad in a more profound level. She was breaking through to the new realm very fast. Fu Wei was surprised a lot. She observed carefully. She found that Xuan's realm was increasing steadily. The pellets she had taken were refining her body, merging with her flesh and bones. Xuan's bloodline seemed to have the essence of water. It gave her a marvelous feeling, allowing her to increase her realm unlimitedly. This discovery shocked Fu Wei. Her face became complex. "Oh, you arrived." Fu Wei pulled herself together, smiling gently. She waved her hand at him, asking him to come closer. She muttered, "This little girl is a prodigy. She seems to not encounter any bottleneck. She is about to break through shortly. She has almost reached third sky of King God realm. I don't know how she could comprehend her realm so easily, like it's just a piece of cake to her. I have never seen anybody increase the realm that fast." Shi Yin focused on Xuan and nodded inwardly. He explained instinctively, "She's the unique prodigy." When they were still in the Sky Meteor City, Xuan had already been famous for her gifted talents. This lazy little girl hadn't put an effort in her cultivation, but she still reached high realm. Qi Xiao had accepted her as an apprentice to nurture her talents. This little girl could comprehend her realm stunningly fast. A little bit of her effort could be as much as a long time of cultivation to other people. Once she became serious in her cultivation, her progress could be extremely fast. When Xuan encountered Ming, the old man knew Xuan had the bloodline of the holy beast Black Tortoise. With her unique talent, her future would be unlimited if she focused on her cultivation. In Agate Star area, she had reached second sky of King God realm under a difficult cultivating condition, which showed how tremendously she was gifted. With Fu Wei's pellets, she was boosted. Her performance could shock even Fu Wei, who had seen a lot of things. It was enough to prove that Xuan was unquestionably a genius that this world had never seen. "Well, this little girl told me many things about you." Fu Wei's eyes were twinkling. She smiled. "I didn't know you were so famous in Grace Mainland. On that almost abandoned life star, you reached peak of true God realm in dozens of years. How did you do that?" What Xuan had told Fu Wei about Shi Yin had surprised her a lot. If she didn't know that Xuan was naive, she would have thought that the girl was telling lies. Within dozens of years in a nearly exhausted life star, a warrior had reached peak of true God realm from nothing. In Fu Wei's point of view, such a man was a monster indeed. Fu Wei suddenly recognized that it wasn't his good fortune that Shi Yin got the approval from the leaders of Monster Clan and Demon Clan. He had something she didn't know yet. "I heard you're amorous." Fu Wei smiled, talking softly. Light rippled from her eyes. "Nah, don't listen to her." Shi Yin rubbed his nose, feeling a little embarrassed. He suddenly remembered the woman in the faraway shadow ghostly prison. After so many years, he didn't know how she was doing. He also expected an encounter. Among so many young beauties, she was the first one who had touched his heart. In that martial yard in the Sky Meteor City where time was paused, he had a deep imprint, which stayed forever in his heart. After dozens of years, he didn't know if she was still like she used to be. A dark place shielded by the stars, Agate Star area. 6 life stars formed a hexagonal formation. However, those 6 stars weren't still. They moved like 6 gigantic beasts, slowly heading in a general direction. One of those life stars had hundreds of herbal fields where dozens of thousands of types of herbs grew. The thick, sweet fragrance of the herbs furled around the place. Mist and steam gathered here year-round and never dispersed. 10 massive cauldrons used to refine pellets stood amid the fields. Those cauldrons were made of different, strange metallic materials. The smoke from those cauldrons was so aromatic that they could even seep into people's internal organs. Taking a deep breath here, the warriors would feel refreshed and comfortable. A lanky ghost-mark old man had exquisite drawings and patterns on his arms and face. He wore luxurious clothes and was standing by the cauldrons. Behind him were more than 10 warriors at third sky of ethereal God realm. They seemed to be the retinue of that ghost Mark oldie who was checking the cauldrons. The old man walked between the cauldrons. Sometimes he nodded, smiling as if he was satisfied. Suddenly, a shadow descended from the sky, kneeling and talking respectfully. Great Elder. Xuan frowned. He had an aquiline nose, the thin lips of a heartless man, and deep eyes. He looked malignant and cunning in general. He waved his hand to let the others stand up, speaking in a gloomy voice. Got anything? They seemed to have found the cannon. The messenger was also a ghost mark warrior at third sky of ethereal god realm who had a little hoarse voice. The great elder of the potion and tool pavilions Xuan's eyes brightened up. He laughed evilly. Good. Pausing for a while, he took a deep breath and spoke excitedly. Assign our men. We must blockade and seize the cannon at any cost. About little Fu Wei. I don't want to see her again. Yes, sir. The messenger drew his mouth into a fiendishly malicious curve and nodded. Clear everything. Do not leave any trace that would allow others to track us, advised Xuan. I understand, the warrior replied, and then flew up to the sky. Shortly after, he disappeared. Many orders were delivered in Potion and Tool Pavilion. They had contacted powerful forces that had a good relationship with them. Many forces in Agate Star area had sent their battleships discreetly. The cannon appears. Mwahaha. Except for me, no one eligible is to have it. Xuan clasped his hands, looking at the sky and speaking arrogantly. The control center of the massive battleship. While Fu Wei was talking to Sheath, her countenance changed. She rose a bright mirror over her head and then nodded to Sheath. Give me a private moment, please. Sheath left the room, his face indifferent. Fu Wei walked to a secret room behind her chamber. The bright mirror followed her like a ghost. After closing the door, Fu Wei took a deep breath and released an electric beam from her palm. The mirror projected Jaduo's image, the warrior with space power of Potion and Tool Pavilion. He looked pale as he was shouting. Our information is disclosed. Xuan knows you have the cannon. He's going to shadow Ghostly Prison now. You have to be cautious. Try to protect yourself at any cost. I'm departing. We'll use the space teleport formation to reach you. Before I arrive, you must hold on to the cannon. Do not let them seize it. Fu Wei grimaced. Her blue eyes' color faded. She screamed in fright. How did it happen? Xiaolu has eyes and ears everywhere. His inside men scatter to every corner. He also controls the satellite eye. It's not strange that he got the news. Jaduo sighed reluctantly. Great Elder has been in the pavilion for so many years. The forces they control aren't something we can rival. I knew that the information would be disclosed soon. You must be careful. Xuan will do anything to get the cannon. I'm not sure if you can beat him. I'm going to shadow Ghostly Prison faster, said Fu Wei solemnly. Yeah. Enter the shadow Ghostly Prison at your maximum speed. If you see a battleship on the way, avoid it as much as you can. Jaduo advised her carefully. Do not cause any trouble. Do not conflict with any force. Once you find that some force is after you, use all your force to slaughter them if you can't dodge. Do not show mercy. I know what to do. Fu Wei nodded earnestly. Try your best to resist. We'll arrive soon. But before we arrive, you have to protect yourself. Understood. Chapter 999. Crisis. Opportunity. Chapter 999. Crisis. Opportunity. In the immensely vast galaxy, a battleship was moving at breakneck speed like lightning. In a secret room inside the battleship, Sheath was sitting neatly. There were some new books placed by him. All were related to the abilities of space power. He read each book. Sometimes he shook his head and sighed. Once he determined that a book was useless to him, it was burned down immediately. The books of space power Upanishad that Fu Wei had copied for him were from the original handwritten books by the warrior who cultivated space power Upanishad in Potion and Tool Pavilion. These books were his personal experiences. However, the owner of those writings didn't have a profound realm because Sheath had already known the secrets he jotted down in his books. Yan's understanding of space power Upanishad was much deeper than most of the information that the writers of these books had. In Yan's eyes, those records were shallow and useless to him. Shortly after, he had only one copy in his hand. Yan squinted and read earnestly. From time to time, he read something that he needed to analyze and comprehend. His brows slowly furrowed. The writer of these documents had a unique approach and stress on space nodes. In his explanation, he assumed that space could become a globe with a lot of spider webs, and the intersections of the spider webs were space nodes. Space lines were used to connect different space nodes. Warriors who cultivated space power Upanishad could use space nodes to teleport. The space nodes were extremely unstable. Some could even lead to the chaotic space basin. However, most of the space nodes were stable enough that they could use space power Upanishad to get through them. There were as many space nodes inside the globe were as blinking stars in the sky. Ordinary people would never know or be able to touch them. Only warriors cultivating space power Upanishad at a specific realm could use the souls to recognize the nodes. According to the writer, marvelous space energy fluctuations were inside the space nodes. Once the soul vibe of the warriors cultivating space power resonated with the energy fluctuations in one space node, they could run directly into that space node and instantly teleport. Since Yin had reached third sky of original God realm, his understanding of space power Upanishad in that magnificent, unknown space became deeper. He knew every space had space nodes. However, it was hard to detect them. After reading that document, Yin recognized that if he could use his soul to touch the space nodes, he could have an exit regardless of where he was. With this thought in his mind, Yin released his soul consciousness. Wisps of soul consciousness added with space energy moved like arrows that shot out of a bow. They scattered from him and entered the vast universe to find the space nodes. While he didn't recognize the passing time, his soul became bright and empty. A flow of his soul consciousness suddenly felt some energy fluctuations of the magical space energy, which were very fierce. His squinted eyes brightened. Taking a deep breath, his soul consciousness moved around, dedicatedly sensing the changes of space energy. Then, he adjusted himself and made his calm sea of consciousness seethe violently. He was trying to create the waves to resonate with the energy fluctuations over there. However, the energy in that area was so turbulent. It wasn't easy for his sea of consciousness to create the resonance. This was especially because Yin had just touched the threshold. It was the first time he had ever comprehended this subtlety. Understanding the resonance of energy fluctuations was a slow and lengthy process. Yin wasn't hurried. It was too dull in this battleship. He'd better study his power Upanishad then. Time flew hurriedly. Today, Yin was still immersed in space energy resonance. His sea of consciousness surged as if it was about to explore. All of a sudden, a flow of his soul consciousness, which had elongated to an unknown area, reported to Yin with a panic feeling. Right after that, he saw many shark-like battleships as black as ink moving fast in a direction. A fear reflected in his head. Yin stopped his space energy resonating work to check the wisp of soul consciousness that had reported the black shark battleships. There were dozens of them. They were around 1,000 to 3,000 meters long. It was obvious that they belonged to one force. They were moving in a neat formation. Some dark clouds covered the battleships, preventing people from looking at the interior. Each battleship had a fiercely torrential energy with a ferocious aura. Navigating, Yin shuddered. He immediately retreated his soul consciousness. Staying inside the battleship, Yin's face became more solemn. He shot up from his seat, walking out of his room. Pavilion and the other two were cultivating in their private rooms, so they didn't know about Yin's commotion or his discovery. "Sir, where do you want to go?" asked a guard standing in front of his door with respect. "I want to meet your elder Fu Wei. Please notify her immediately." Yin was cold and stern. He looked a bit hurried. The guard nodded and told him, "Follow me." Shortly after, Yin walked to the control center of the battleship with his guide. Fu Wei, and Yun, and Feng'an, the three leaders of Potion and Tool Pavilion were there. They were discussing something. Seeing him, They stopped immediately. The guard left the room. Yin took a deep breath and then said, "A fleet of battleships is heading fast towards us. They're moving really fast. I estimate that they will reach us in 4 hours. There are dozens of them. They come with murderous auras. Seems like they don't have good intentions toward us." Fu Wei discolored in fright. She jolted from her seat, her soft body shivering. Which direction? What kind of battleships are they? What's the situation? And Yun and Feng grimaced. They clenched their jaws, their face malicious. "Young elder." "It's them," said Yun. Fu Wei nodded, raising her small hand to stop the woman. Her eyes gazed at Yin. She knew warriors who cultivate space power could reach a very long distance with their soul consciousness. Although it couldn't cover a large area, one fine beam of soul consciousness could reach much further than what the others could reach. Those battleships are black like ink. They look like sharks. There are dozens of them. They have many symbols. Most of them are black and blue. A few are purple. Yin recalled and described what his soul consciousness had seen. Blue and black shark battleships of the Ghost Mark clan. And Yun took a cold breath, her face grim. Those shark battleships are manufactured by the Force under Great Elder's party. Great Elder used to be a member of the Ghost Mark clan. Those blue and black shark battleships belong to the Mad Shark fleet of the chief of Ghost Mark clan. Yeah, it can't be wrong. They are heading towards us. Fu Wei put on a cold face and nodded. Then, she didn't talk, but started to release magnificent light beams towards the corners of the control center. Boom, boom. Ear-splitting explosions blasted from the bottom of the battleship, which changed its direction immediately. Energy from countless divine crystals was drawn from this deviation. The battleship moved like lightning from outer space, heading fast in the new direction. After it was done, Fu Wei wiped the sweat on her forehead. She looked a little tired, trying to smile at Yin. She said softly, "This time, I have to thank you." "What happened?" Yin frowned. "The cannon's whereabouts are disclosed." Fu Wei sighed weakly. "Great Elder's party wants to seize the cannon. He has urged the forces to cooperate with him. They will kill us and take the cannon. They don't want our party to keep it." Yin was surprised, but he just nodded nonchalantly. "You guys can endure it or not. Who knows?" Fu Wei whispered in dismay. She pondered for a while and then said to Yin, "I thought we could deliver you guys smoothly to Shadow Ghostly Prison, but now there is an issue. Going with us isn't a good idea for you guys." "Okay, so?" Fu Wei looked at Yun, asking, "Yun, you choose the best war chariot and send them off." Yun bent her body to greet and left. "Hold on." Yin waved his hand to stop them. He asked coldly, "Will you fight against them? If you encounter them, will you do your best to defend and destroy the enemies?" Of course, Fu Wei's eyes were cold. Her brows showed her murderous aura. "They come this time to wipe us out in a single operation. Of course, we will resist with our best efforts. We will not show mercy." Yin smiled coldly. "Good. I'll stay to fight with you guys." Fu Wei and Yun and Feng were surprised. They looked at him with odd faces. "No, it has nothing to do with you. You just find trouble for yourself staying with us. We're not sure if we can defeat them or not. Why do you need to take risks with us?" Fu Wei's blue eyes rippled strangely. She felt something touching her heart. She said tenderly, "There are many Mad Shark battleships of the Ghost Mark clan. I'm not sure if I can deal with them. Do you really want to stand on the same side with us and fight against them?" "Oh yeah." Yin grinned. He didn't say more. He turned around and left the control center. He wanted to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison even though he knew that the place was madly chaotic. He knew the place where warriors died continually was the best place for him. It was the key for him to transform. This time, it was going to be a rare chance. He didn't want to let it go. Fu Wei and the other two didn't know what he was thinking. After he had left, they looked at each other in astonishment. This man, he does employ the code of brotherhood, and Yun was baffled for a while. It's worth your feelings for him. In danger, he doesn't run away to protect himself. He wants to stay with us. Such a good man. Feng nodded. I didn't expect him to be that way. I misunderstood him before. I thought he was a type of greedy man. I had never thought that he would help us in a time of danger. Fu Wei thinned her lips. She smiled tenderly and then said, I didn't expect that either. He chose to stay. Time to feast, guys. Inside the battleship, Shi Yin woke up Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua. He grinned. Previously, we didn't harvest enough energy. This time, I will feed you until you're full. Fei Lan and the others' eyes brightened, their faces expecting a good harvest. Chapter 1000, A Former Pursuer. Chapter 1000, A Former Pursuer under the observation platform of a black shark battleship. Du Lin wore blue combat clothes with gold-plated hems. He looked handsome with blue tattoos on his face. The corner of his mouth always held a tender smile. Two enchanting and charming sisters were leaning close to him. They were holding a glass of wine and a tray of fruits, serving him with smiles. Du Lin was the most prominent young talent of the new generation of Ghost Mark clan. He had third sky of ethereal god realm cultivation base. This young man was a genius and a potential candidate for the chief position of the Ghost Mark clan. He was born in the most influential family of Ghost Mark clan, the one with the tough, placid minds. Du Lin managed the Mad Shark Fleet, which consisted of 49 battleships. This force was the mightiest force of the Ghost Mark clan. Du Lin smiled tenderly, sitting on the stone platform imposingly. The two beauties served him, making him comfortable while he looked at the immense galaxy with his dark, deep eyes. Fu Wei. Du Lin chuckled as his eyes became hot. He extended his arms, hugging the two ladies and enjoying their sexy bodies. Under the stone platform, the Ghost Mark clan soldiers were stooping. They didn't dare to look at Du Lin on the high platform. Their faces showed their admiration and respect for their commander. Swoosh! A shadow glided from inside the battle. He kneeled down before Du Lin. Young master, Fu Wei's battleship changed its direction. They now have sped up twice. Mad Shark Fleet was built by Du Lin's family. All the soldiers addressed him as young master. Du Lin's family was the most potent force of the Ghost Mark clan. To boost Du Lin and give him the most powerful influence, his family had spent a lot of materials to build him Mad Shark battleships with the hope that he could set his foot on the glorious chief position of the clan. They changed the route? Du Lin squinted while his big hands were still lingering on the beauty's waist and rear. He thought for a while and then burst out laughing. Seems like she knows we're here. What should we do now? The other kneeled and lifted his head to look at Du Lin. Scatter the mad sharks and circle them. As long as we can beat their speed, they will be surrounded by our frenzy of sharks. Then, they will never get out. Du Lin waved his hand, talking indifferently. Although her battleship is a good one, she has only one. She can't resist us. I got it, sir. The man left. Arrogant Fu Wei. Let's see how you deal with me this time. Du Lin enjoyed drinking and playing with the two beautiful sisters. He looked tender when he embraced a girl, whispering to her, You should belong to me. It's time to put my bell into my gold palace. The two girls smiled servilely and charmingly, hugging him tightly. They wanted to win him over. On the deck of the massive battleship, Fu Wei and Yun stood silently. They were observing their surroundings. Their soul consciousness rippled like water waves. They could sense any commotion around. Warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion scattered in each corner of the deck. They were all stern, watching everywhere cautiously. The commander of those Mad Shark battleships is Du Lin. And Yun kept silent for a while. Suddenly, she looked at Fu Wei. She spoke with a face strange. Du Lin used to pursue you crazily. Fu Wei set her line of sight to the place afar, frowning. She also had a deep impression of Du Lin. He was the prominent and good-looking talent of the new generation of the Croc family. He had an amazing innate endowment which was proven when he reached peak of ethereal god realm in just a short time. He was so tender and handsome. However, what made him special was that he was crazy about Fu Wei. The Croc family was the oldest and strongest family in the Ghost Mark clan. They could compare to the Feng Du family, the family of the current Ghost Mark clan's chief. The former head of the Crocs had made a mistake while breaking from ethereal god realm to incipient god realm. He couldn't make any progress. That was why he couldn't beat the Feng Du family to become the next chief of Ghostmark clan. Anyway, a thin camel is still bigger than a horse. The Croc family was still the strongest force of the Ghostmark clan. Du Lin of the current generation was the powerful character of the Crocs. He shouldered the hope of the entire family. Zhuo Lu, great elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion, was also one of the Crocs of the Ghostmark clan. However, a former precursor of Potion and Tool Pavilion had made him his apprentice and separated him from the Ghostmark clan when he was young. Zhuo Lu had always been concerned about the Croc family of the Ghostmark clan. After he had known about Du Lin, he had discreetly sent his staff to gift him a lot of precious cultivating materials. The fact that Du Lin could break through so quickly was closely related to Zhuo Lu's sufficient support. When Fu Wei's teacher had passed away, Zhuo Lu tried to recruit her for his team. He had arranged Du Lin with Potion and Tool Pavilion and set up plans for him to pursue her. Zhuo Lu hoped Du Lin could marry her so she could assist Zhuo Lu. Previously, Du Lin had spent a lot of his efforts to win her heart. However, due to the different parties they had followed, she didn't want to go on the same path as Zhuo Lu. Eventually, she denied him resolutely. Du Lin was a bright gentleman. He always got the girls he wanted in the Ghostmark clan and Agate Star area. However, after Fu Wei had rejected him, he changed. He was depressed for a while. After he got the shadow out of his heart, he became uncontrollable in his personal relationships. Du Lin. Fu Wei recalled the man, sighing weakly. Du Lin is at third sky of Ethereal God Realm. He has 49 mad shark battleships. If they scatter and circle us, we won't be able to get rid of that trap, said Yun seriously. Fu Wei contemplated for a while and then ordered, once we find the battleships of the mad shark fleet, we will smash them down if they stand in our way at any cost. Once we attack them, we'll break the rules. Young Elder, are you sure? And Yun was surprised. Du Lin is from the same clan as Great Elder. Naturally, he will protect the Great Elder's benefits. We know this since Great Elder has sent him here. Fu Wei forced a smile. Unless I give them the cannon and marry Du Lin, they will never let us go. As we've come to this, we can't return. We must be resolute. And Yun nodded. I understand. While inside the cultivating room, Shi Yin listened to Zhuo Shi and Xian Ming's stories as they had to struggle a lot to survive. Occasionally, he sighed. Zhuo Shi and Xian Ming didn't have his luck. After they had arrived in Agate Star area, they used to work as miners or slaves on herbal farms. For the divine crystals, they had to eat bitter fruits and bear the humiliation. The peak characters in Grace Mainland were just low people in high-grade star areas. Glory and powers in the past weren't worth mentioning here. They had to start everything from the beginning. To many people, this was really cruel. Today, Xian Ming had reached level 12 in Monsters Cultivating ranking. Zhuo Shi had reached peak of King God Realm thanks to Fu Wei's pellets. She had surpassed Xian Ming. It reflected the fact that Zhuo Shi was a real prodigy. Shi Yin GG, how about you? How have you been? Have you experienced the same things? Did you have to struggle a lot to survive? Zhuo Shi eyed him and asked in a low tone. Xian Ming also looked at him, his face curious. Me? Shi Yin smiled miserably. Yeah, at first, my situation was even worse than yours. I used to be a human cauldron. If my body hasn't been special, I would have been dead. He remembered the painful past when he had just arrived in Raging Flame Star area. Today, he recalled the utmost bitter moments when he thought about it. If Xiao hadn't brought him to Dark Firmament Heaven Nation, the alchemist of Underworld League would have soon killed him. Warriors from the low-grade star area entering the high-grade star area did have old, struggle-filled stories to tell. He wasn't an exception. However, he had survived even though it was a bit reluctant. He had struggled through Raging Flame Star area like a fish in troubled waters. After he had come to Agate Star area, he also had tough times. Anyway, he still stood firm. You've taken troubles, said Zhuo Shi. Shi Yin smiled at her. Your father and other fellows are living well now. Don't worry about them. They're safe, and they have a secure source of cultivating materials. After we are done with things here, I'll take care of you. You don't need to worry about stuff anymore. I knew you were the best. Zhuo Shi's eyes were like the crescent moon. Her smile was innocent and cute. I thought we would never meet again. It's good to see you, Gigi. Phelan, Leona, and Ka-Tua sat in 3 different corners of the cultivating room, squinting as if they were half-conscious. The battle will start soon. Yin got up, retreating his elongated soul consciousness. He told Xuan and Ming, "You guys stay here and don't act rashly. You can't join this level of battle. Just stay here and cultivate." "Isn't it a battleship of potion and tool pavilion?" Ming was perplexed. "Is there any force that dares to attack potion and tool pavilion?" "There's no absolute in everything," Yin chuckled. He didn't explain in details. He nodded to Phelan and the other 2, and then headed out of the room. Phelan, Leona, and Ka-Tua immediately got up and followed him. "We may encounter them shortly," said Yin as soon as he reached the deck. Yin saw the guards of Potion and Tool Pavilion watching at their spots cautiously. Fu Wei and Yuan and Feng'an were stern. Hearing his voice, they turned around to see him. "The enemy's battleships have scattered. They're going to besiege us from all directions. They're weaving a thick mesh net. Unless we can break their net and get rid of their siege, things will get tough since we will be surrounded." Yin looked ahead of them, slightly narrowing his eyes. "2 battleships are waiting in front of us. We will meet them in 1 hour. We can't avoid them. If we change our route now, we will just head to their net sooner." Fu Wei was still calm, smiling. "You understand the situation well?" And Yuan and Feng'an nodded to greet Yin. Since they'd known Yin, they decided to stay and fight with them. Their attitude towards him had changed. In their eyes, Yin didn't try to protect only himself. He joined others in combat, which showed his excellent code of brotherhood. Of course, they didn't know Yin's other conspiracy. "Have you prepared everything well?" said Yin calmly. "It's okay. Although Potion and Tool Pavilion doesn't participate in battles in this star area, we aren't afraid of fighting, you know?" Fu Wei smiled tenderly. She suddenly straightened her back, chinned up, and spoke bravely. "We will show you how strong we are soon." Yin's eyes brightened, and he nodded quietly. He knew that Potion and Tool Pavilion weren't ordinary. However, rumors about the competence and powers of Potion and Tool Pavilion in Agate Star area weren't clear enough. Today, as he got a lucky chance to fight with Fu Wei, perhaps he would have a good chance to see Potion and Tool Pavilion's real power. Chapter 1001. Eat Meat. Chapter 1001. Eat Meat _ Fu Wei, Yin, and the others gathered at the control center of the battleship. A bright, big mirror showed the star area around. The walls of this control center had many marks. Each of them had fiercely surging energy. Fu Wei was calmly looking at the bright mirror. Her fingers shot out light beams from time to time. Slowly, a black shark battleship emerged in the mirror. It was right ahead of them, hiding like a shark waiting for its prey. Fu Wei's blue eyes sparkled with a brutal light. A light beam shot out from her palm, hitting a lozenge imprint. The imprint became brilliantly dazzling. Almost 1 million divine crystals at the bottom of the battleship released their turbulently abundant energy at the same time. Blinding light fired from a long pole that looked like a drill bit in the front of the ship. A formidable light grumblingly shot out. The light column moved like a mad dragon, bringing along endless torrential energy. Just like a meteor chasing after the moon, it hit the black shark battleship violently. Boom! The dim galaxy was suddenly illuminated brilliantly. The black shark battleship exploded at the moment of the impact. At that moment, the black shark battleship was fragmented, and the dozens of warriors on the ship died in that crazy flow of energy. Many members of the Ghost Mark clan were wounded and bleeding. They evacuated from the shattered battleship. Some of them risked their lives and flew towards the massive battleship. Boom! Countless barriers and restrictions of the big battleship were activated. A massive halo covered the entire battleship. While bombarding the warriors flying around, Fu Wei's gigantic battleships wantonly moved like a huge monster. Yin was dumbstruck. Seeing the black shark battleship get shot down in just a blink of an eye, he now knew how terrifying the power of Potion and Tool Pavilion's battleship was. That crystal artillery used divine crystals as the source of energy. It absorbed energy from millions of divine crystals to create a light column that blasted and crushed the Black Shark battleship. It was evident that Potion and Tool Pavilion had varied and profound applications of divine crystals. They could use them to load the crystal artillery to break anything. This kind of powerful lethality was enough to crush even a third sky of ethereal god realm expert. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The engine hissed loudly inside the battleship as if the artillery was reloading. The Ghost Mark warriors scattered to everywhere and then risked their lives by attacking the light curtain on the battleship directly. That halo was created by dozens of barriers and restrictions, which provided the ship with a tremendous defensive ability. More than 10 Ghost Mark warriors at King God Realm and Original God Realm urged their powers Upanishad. Fire, ice, storm, and thunderbolts showered on the light curtain protecting the ship. The light curtain distorted a little, but it wasn't broken. Beautiful sparks were sent into outer space like brilliant fireworks that touched people's souls. Yin flew out quietly from the control center, descending on the deck. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes slightly. His soul consciousness extended like magical tentacles. They found the broken bodies of the Ghost Mark warriors, pulling them near the light curtain of the battleship. After a while, he got more than 10 pieces of broken bodies hovering above the light curtain. The essence chi of these flesh bodies hadn't vanished yet. Flows of murky energy with negative moods from those bodies pierced through the light curtain and flooded Yan's acupuncture points. The vortexes inside his 720 acupuncture points started to revolve. They dragged the essence chi of the dead and refined it. Yin grinned, laughing evilly. His laughter was cruel and yet happy. His acupuncture points were taking in the essence chi of more than 10 dead bodies of the Ghost Mark warriors. This wonderful feeling made him smile. The murderous intention in his heart was heating up. He felt his blood boiling. Fei Lon, Leona, and Ka Tua observed the commotion. They followed him flying out of the control center. They now surrounded him to protect him. They saw that more than 10 broken bodies hovering above the light curtain were dried as if the water and blood inside were all sucked out. Fei Lan's team was shaken. They had a high expectation this time. They knew this time that they would be able to eat meat. Boom, boom, boom. Shockwaves created by the powers Upanishads of the Ghost Mark warriors continually struck the protective halo like an unceasing thunderstorm. The magical light curtain rippled like water, shielding the battleship from all kinds of attack. In outer space, it sparkled radiantly like a beautiful star, sending sparks everywhere. Kill! From the deck of the battleship, several hundred guards of Potion and Tool Pavilion shouted and flew out. Instantaneously, powers Upanishads including metal, lightning, ice and mist, gusts of wind, sound, and light appeared. Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards stayed inside the protective halo and struck their attacks through the halo, aiming at the Ghost Mark warriors outside the halo. Shortly after, 5 or 6 Ghost Mark warriors were shot down. They swayed like willow catkins and fell on the barrier. Yan's eyes brightened. He stooped and smiled, pulling the void. The shattered bodies of the Ghost Mark warriors gathered on the light curtain above Yan's head. Their blood had dyed a large area of the light curtain. The thick scent of blood seemed to diffuse through the curtain, nauseating people. Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards didn't know why Yin wanted to gather the dead bodies. They didn't bother with his commotion anyway, and just hid under the protective halo and attacked others. The light curtain of Fu Wei's battleship was made of a combination of different barriers and restrictions. It had a terrific defensive ability. If they wanted to attack this battleship, they had to break this protective halo first. At the same time, Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards were able to stay inside the protected area and attack the others. This kind of protection didn't stop their attacks, anyway. Among hundreds of Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards, most of them were at King God Realm and Original God Realm. There were also a few ethereal God Realm experts. When they had attacked with all their abilities, powers Upanishads exploded like a thunderstorm in the void. Lightning strikes blasted. Icy snowstorms twirled. They were wreaking havoc above the protective halo, shading the sunbeam and moonlight. Yin and Fei Lan's team hadn't done anything yet. They sat quietly on the deck, watching the magnificent fireworks blooming out there above the light curtain. Looking at the dead ghost mark warriors, they were enjoying the absorption of thick essence chi. They were indeed so happy. Pieces of broken bodies fell on the light curtain above Xuan's head. There were around 20 pieces this time. Blood puddled and dripped, creating an area of blood-red light that people could not turn their eyes from. Squinting and pressing down negative moods in his body, Xuan's acupuncture points were madly filtering and refining essence chi. Gradually, he felt his acupuncture points get swollen and aching. It was a sign of the brimming energy. Grinning fiendishly, he stooped and spoke to Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua. "We've harvested big this time." The other three nodded eagerly. Rumble, rumble. The energy of countless divine crystals was released one more time. The battleship, moving at breakneck speed, accelerated again. It flew like a crazy monster, heading in a direction. Layers of light curtain expanded and covered the entire battleships. At this moment, it became tough and sharp that it could break everything. The wrecked black shark battleship hovering in its way was smashed into debris or even powder if impacted directly with Fu Wei's battleship. Fu Wei's battleship was excellent in both defending and attacking with divine crystals as the fountain of energy. Its lethality was terrifying, indeed. Xuan didn't dare to underestimate this battleship's competence anymore. He believed that if he got shot by such crystal artillery, his god body would burst into pieces. Although the battleship was moving fast and fiercely, Fu Wei didn't look comfortable in the control center. She frowned as she had a premonition that the next wave of mad shark battleships would be more furious. "It's not easy to deal with Du Lin," and Yun sounded serious. "The mad shark fleet has 49 battleships. Although their defensive ability isn't good, their speed is incredible. I think while we had a fight over there, they have formulated a new plan already." Fu Wei nodded. She sounded calm as usual. "I understand. Young elder, you have used her soul to lock the battleship and control the attacking formations of the battleship. You've consumed a lot of soul energy, and you can't do that for a long time, right?" asked Yun. Fu Wei gave a forced smile. "It's all right. I'm going to adjust my condition." While talking, she took out refreshing green pellets and swallowed. Her pale cheeks had some colors afterward. This excellent defensive and attacking battleship had thousands of formations, imprints, and restrictions that needed the soul energy to control. It wasn't an easy task, though. When Fu Wei controlled the battleship, she was like the brain of this ship, as she had to manage all details of this massive ship. She had to consume her soul energy every minute. Their quick triumph this time was thanks to her concentrated control. However, it cost her soul energy. If the combat became fiercer, each wisp of her soul consciousness had to create a connection with the barriers, imprints, and restrictions. When that happened, her soul energy would be consumed massively. Did they get out there? After Fu Wei had swallowed the pellets, she took a short period to digest. When her energy was restored a little bit, she had time to ask about Xuan's team. And Yun nodded with an odd countenance. "They have soon left to the deck?" Fu Wei was surprised. "He joined the combat?" "No." And Yun's face became even stranger. "We don't know why he gathered the bodies of our enemies and looked at them from under the light curtain. I don't know what he had done." Fu Wei became skeptical. She didn't know what Xuan was doing. Pondering for a while, she said begrudgingly, "Never mind them. They know what to do. If they agree to stay, I think they won't have any bad intention towards us." "Yes, I think they have some plans, but they won't harm us," nodded Yun. Fu Wei didn't say more. She concentrated on the bright mirror to observe and arrange for the next attack wave of the mad shark. She understood clearly that the next wave wouldn't be as easy as this time. She knew how excellent Du Lin was. It wasn't going to be easy to defend the next time then. Chapter 1002. The Blood Blade Comes Out of Its Sheath. Chapter 1002. The blood blade comes out of its sheath. Xuan shot up from his seat. His eyes were blood-red while murderous auras in his body soared up into the sky. Lifted up his head to look at the light curtain dyed in the red hue of blood. Xuan grinned and spoke to Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka-Tuo. Let's get out there. The other three nodded quietly. This group of four pierced through the protective halo like four electric beams and headed towards the Ghost Mark warriors lagging behind. More than 10 warriors of the Ghost Mark clan were struck helter-skelter. After the gigantic battleship had smashed their battleship and flew away quickly, they were left behind. At this moment, Yan's group of four was aiming at those left warriors. While his thought was flickering, a desolate aura diffused from Yan. Blood floating in outer space gathered, creating a blood sea. The thick scent of blood permeated the place. Yan immersed in that blood sea, his eyes blood-red and his face icy cold. The divine ability of Death Power Upanishad, the Blood Soul Sea. The Blood Sea extended, covering each of the remaining Ghost Mark warriors. Negative moods including despair, fear, bloodthirstiness, and brutality flooded their minds violently. Shortly after, the Ghost Mark warriors went crazy. They started to attack anybody near them. Pavilion, Leona, and Ka-Tuo hunted them down like three brutal dragons. They activated their powers Upanishads and started to kill those Ghost Mark warriors. In that group of Ghost Mark warriors, there were only two ethereal God realm experts. One was at second sky and the other was at first sky. Pavilion released her ethereal extent, which was a space of erosive energy, to roll the second sky of ethereal God realm expert who was damaged by potion and tool pavilion's guard. Staying in a block of the darkness as thick as ink, Leona eyed the other first sky of ethereal God realm warrior. Leona disappeared as if she had completely mixed with the dark. She then sent darkness to the other soul. Ka-Tuo urged his chaos power Upanishad. With his body as the eye, he created a formidably horrifying meat grinder field, which attracted the Ghost Mark warriors. Yan controlled the Blood Soul Sea and made it move towards Ka-Tuo, shrouding all the warriors attracted by Ka-Tuo's chaotic, twisted energy. Painful screeching arose from the Ghost Mark warriors. They were filled with despair and fear as if they were watching the most terrible things in their lives. Their screams rose the hair on people's napes. Usually, the scream came together with a person's death. His god body disappeared in the Blood Soul Sea while his soul altar was sent out. The black hole in his soul altar had swallowed the other souls discreetly. The massive battleship halted, and Yun discolored, crying in fear. They got out there and hunted down the others. Fu Wei gritted her teeth and scolded in a low voice. Impulsive. They will affect our progress. Du Lin will have more time to arrange his formation to block us. And Yun paled. Damn, they didn't notify us. They act so rashly. So what if they can kill all of them? We'll still be trapped. Fu Wei nodded. They will affect our progress for sure. Young elder. And Yun took a deep breath, speaking resolutely. We can't wait for them. We have to break their besiege at our max speed. If we delay, bad things will happen. Fu Wei furrowed her bold brows. She touched the bright mirror floating above her head. The mirror then showed a dark area and a blood sea. They couldn't see Yin, Ka-Tuo, and Leona. They only saw Pavilion, who was using her corrosion power Upanishad to attack one Ghost Mark expert. Watching for a while, Fu Wei was frightened. She shouted, Look! And Yun looked at the mirror. She was shocked immediately. They attacked too fast. There was around 20 Ghost Mark warriors remained. Most of them were at original God realm. Even if Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards wanted to kill them, they couldn't do it in a short time. However, the four of Yan's group had killed half of the Ghost Mark warriors shortly after they had left the battleship. The remaining warriors inside the Blood Sea were all crazy as they were killing each other. At this speed, perhaps all of the Ghost Mark warriors would be killed all in just a short time. This frightened Fu Wei and Yun. They were fearful because of the fighting competence of Yan's group. Only 4 warriors. Fu Wei was baffled. She pondered for a while and then ordered, We'll wait 15 minutes for them. When the time's up and they haven't returned, we will leave. And Yun was surprised. She nodded. Their fighting competencies are so frightening. They are powerful individuals indeed. It's a waste to leave them. She was surprised a lot seeing the performance of Yan's team. She immediately wanted to change her plan. From the bright mirror, Fu Wei and Yun could see the ghost mark warriors get killed one after another. Their god bodies exploded in the blood sea. They were screaming and roaring. Gradually, they forgot who they were. Their vitality was taken away, and their bodies dried up in the end. Inside the darkness, Leona was invisible. The first sky of ethereal god realm expert, her opponent, was perplexed. His eyes turned pitch black as if darkness had covered his brain. He appeared so painful and pathetic. The second sky of ethereal god realm expert didn't know why his energy was decreased unceasingly. The corrosive energy had seeped into his body. He was soon killed. Fu Wei and Yun watched everything in silence. They became aghast. Sometimes they stooped and cried in fear. Who are they? After a while, Yun whispered as if she was sleep-talking. The four of them all have the capacity to challenge warriors whose realms are higher than theirs. Their individual powers Upanishads are so special. They aren't popular, indeed. Their fighting competencies are enough to kill warriors at higher realms. Oh my god, who are they? Aliens? Fu Wei was also bewildered. Their powers Upanishads are evil and rare. Their energy is abundant and much more than people at the same realm. They can resist higher realm warriors indeed. The powers Yin, Pavilion, Leona, and Katual were cultivating were extremely rare. They were the inheritances of the bloodthirsty's cortege of 8. The cultivating path they followed was an extreme, cruel one. People would never tolerate their powers. Once they used their powers, if their opponents didn't know about those special powers Upanishad, they would be killed shortly. In just a blink, the last scream arose on that battle site, putting an end on this combat. More than 20 ghost mark warriors were killed. No one escaped. Their god bodies and soul altars were annihilated, leaving nothing behind. Yan's eyes were garnet. At this moment, he emerged from the blood sea. Glancing at the big battleship behind, he adjusted his condition. Shortly after, his eyes resumed their normal colors. The brutal, evil aura was still being diffused from his body. After circulating his energy for several rounds, he flew towards the battleship. Pavilion, Leona, and Katual were covered in blood. They looked like 3 savage beasts, closely following behind Yin. The light curtain of the battleship slightly shrank. Warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion stood on the deck, looking at the 4 of them with complicated countenances. The warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion all felt a vague fear looking at them. They were shocked, watching their performance. When the 4 of them landed on the deck, Potion and Tool Pavilion's warriors couldn't help but step back and maintain a distance from them. Fu Wei walked to them from the control center. Her blue eyes had rippling light as she studied the 4 of them. Thank you for your labor. Yun stood by her, discreetly gathering her energy. She was cautious as she was afraid that the other 4 who had been excitedly killing the enemies would have some wild commotion. You don't look good. Yin glanced at her, frowning. You must be drained controlling this big battleship. But it's okay. Later on, I'll help you. Fu Wei and Yun were bewildered. Yin walked towards his cultivating room inside the battleship and didn't bother to explain more. Pavilion, Leona, and Katual followed him silently. Potion and Tool Pavilion's warriors along the way would instinctively step aside to make their way. Shortly after, Yan's team had disappeared into the battleship and from Fu Wei and Yun's sight. Feng'an emerged from nowhere. He lowered his voice, talking with a complicated visage. This man is absolutely not a fish in the stagnant pond. Fu Wei and Yun nodded, totally agreeing with him. Young elder, he said he would help you. What does he mean? Yun was still baffled, asking. Shaking her head, Fu Wei didn't understand his intention either. I don't know what he meant. I think Du Lin didn't know about this kind of assistance on our battleship. Yun recalled something, her eyes glittering. Perhaps we can escape this time? Fu Wei relaxed and nodded. Yeah, maybe we can resist until Uncle Duo come. Everybody was cheered up. Deep in the sea of stars, black and blue shark battleships hovered, aligning in a conical formation. They blockaded one of the most critical checkpoints of this galaxy. Du Lin was smiling gently on the leading battleship as he was listening to his subordinate's report. Sometimes, he nodded. It seemed that the wrecked battleship with its several hundred dead warriors couldn't affect his mood. He was still calm, and he smiled as usual. Resolute and cruel enough. Not bad. Not bad. Seems like she doesn't mind our old relationship. Young master, hissed a man kneeling in front of him. Waving his hands to indicate that he knew it, Du Lin said, "Don't worry. I know what to do. The cannon is our top priority this time. I know how to solve this." The other didn't say more. "Be prepared." Du Lin took a deep breath. The smile on his face ceased. "There are 6 hours left. After 6 hours, they will be arriving here. Haha, at that time, what they have to face isn't only one battleship. It's our whole mad shark fleet." The other warriors replied to him. Their enthusiastic shouts echoed from each battleship like loud thunderclaps. Chapter 1003, Better Not to Meet. Chapter 1003, Better Not to Meet _ Inside the battleship, Shi, Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua sat neatly while the bloodlines from Shi body connected the other three. Energy fluctuated like a flowing river and seeped into their bodies. The magical energy in this cultivating room was so thick that it couldn't vanish quickly. The blood marks on the forehead of Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua were like eyes that sparkled in blood-red halo. Through this mark, they collected abundant and pure energy from Shi. It gave a tonic to each of their soul altars and filled their essence-chi ancient tree. Xuan and Ming were observing them from the other side of the room with surprised faces. He didn't ask Xuan and Ming to leave when he transmitted the energy to the other three. He wanted the two of them to witness something magical in this world. Ming was struck. He studied the four of them while a storm arose in his heart. This was the first time he saw the energy transmission, and the originator was Shi. He didn't know why Shi's body could endure such dominant energy fluctuations. This situation was beyond his knowledge, giving him a new cognition of power. Xuan's small face was filled with surprise. Her line of sight fixed on Shi. She said excitedly, "Hey old man, don't you think he's brilliant?" Ming nodded bitterly. "Indeed." Xuan smiled. After an unknown period, Leona and Ka Tua woke up with excited faces. They looked at each other and saw happiness in their faces. What a big harvest! Shi and Fei Lan were still meditating in silence. Their breaths were long and steady. Shi's body started to emit marvelous space energy. It seemed like his soul was trying to create some kind of magical resonance. This kind of energy fluctuation frequency was dense. It seemed like he wanted to build a space channel. Pallid air currents swirled around Fei Lan like spirit snakes. A discernible ethereal extent hovered behind her head. It made Fei Lan look like she was staying in a different space. Leona studied Fei Lan. After a while, her eyes glistened. "Precursor. She's about to break through, right?" Ka Tua also sensed something. He licked his lips, asking with excitement. Leona nodded. "Seems like she's breaking to the new realm. She's been at first sky of ethereal god realm for a long time. This time, she had beaten up a higher realm warrior, which advanced her power Upanishad. Well, as she has received enough energy, her breakthrough happened naturally and logically." "It's so good." Ka Tua was sincerely happy. He respected Fei Lan a lot. If Fei Lan hadn't helped him a lot in Land of God punishment, he would have been killed already. Although Fei Lan had taken care of him because of his inheritance, Ka Tua did get good things. She allowed him to survive before he was strong enough to take care of himself. He had the chance to meet up with Shi and reach his current realm. He appreciated Fei Lan a lot, and he had considered her as his precursor whom he serves and respects. In some aspect, Fei Lan's favor for him was much more significant than Shi's. Strange space energy fluctuated from Shi's soul altar. Gradually under the other's gazes, Shi disappeared from time to time, as if his soul had escaped his body to some marvelous domain. Ka Tua and Leona were surprised. After a long time, Fei Lan woke up. She took a deep breath while her 10 fingers diffused the pallid erosive air currents, which were wiggling like snake tongues. Fei Lan was amazed looking at 10 currents of erosive air. She smiled, getting up and looking at Shi Yin. You, precursor, have you? Asked Ka Tuo. Fei Lan nodded and admitted it. Thanks to his grace, I'm at second sky of ethereal god realm. Seems like fighting and killing helps us understand our realms better. Ka Tuo and Leona were baffled, but they were happy for her. Ming observed quietly, listening to their conversation. He couldn't help but look at Shi Yin, who was sitting still. Ming had a lot of complicated feelings. His energy could help even ethereal god realm expert to break through. Ming was astounded. Phew! Exhaling a murky blow of breath, Shi Yin woke up, still sitting. With a calm visage, he slowly got up. His eyes lay on Fei Lan when he said to her, "Congratulations." Fei Lan didn't say anything. She just smiled and then unnaturally bent her body slightly to show her gratitude to Shi Yin. Shi Yin chuckled. He didn't say anything else and nodded to Xuan and Ming before leaving the training room. Soon, he arrived at the control center of the battleship. Fu Wei was sitting cross-legged. She had taken in pellets and digested them to give a tonic to her soul. Seeing him, Fu Wei opened her eyes, smiling. "You're here. I'm here to help you a little bit," Shi Yin said. He didn't wait for Fu Wei to respond. Just like an electric beam, he appeared right behind her. One hand of his was placed on her beautiful back. Vigorous life energy poured into Fu Wei's god body like a refreshing stream in a mountain. Fu Wei's beautiful eyes brightened. Her stiff body relaxed, and she had a happy smile on her face. Her exhausted body recovered shortly after receiving Shi Yan's vitality. Fu Wei felt like she was soaking her body in a hot spring. Her sore muscles were relaxed. Her mind, qi, and soul were refreshed. She felt so comfortable that she couldn't describe when that flow of vitality had invigorated her. And Yun stood in a corner and watched. She used to want to stop Shi Yin. Seeing Fu Wei and her comfortable countenance, she exhaled in relief. "Is it okay?" Placing his hand on Fu Wei's voluptuous back, Shi Yin looked calm, asking. Fu Wei looked so relaxed as she enjoyed it a lot. With a weak smile, she told him, "A little more." Shi Yin was surprised, beaming a forced smile. "Do you think the vitality I release is really cheap?" While talking, he retrieved his hand. Looking at Fu Wei's white neck and her updo hairstyle, he said, "The damages inside your body recovered. I can feel that." Fu Wei gritted her teeth. She got up reluctantly, giving a tender smile. "I can see you have abundant life energy. The more I receive, the better I feel. Thus, I have to seize the chance, right?" Shi Yin felt funny, shaking his head reluctantly. "When will we encounter the other?" Talking about that, Fu Wei's visage darkened. "Soon. This time, we won't see only one battleship, but instead, his entire mad shark fleet. We will face Du Lin." Sigh. It's hard to deal with Du Lin. He's such a headache. Du Lin? Who is he? The new generation's commander of the Croc family of the Ghost Mark clan. He's at peak of ethereal god realm. I heard he has touched the threshold of incipient god realm. He's the captain of the Mad Shark Fleet. He's careful, good at fighting, and planning. Why can they find you guys precisely each time? As your battleship can cut off soul consciousness detecting, normal people can't find you. Why do they always know your location every time? Fu Wei forced a smile. She pondered and then explained. Du Lin was sent by Great Elder Zhualu. Great Elder knows our battleship well. Although people can't find us, it's simple to target and lock us down if they get the treasures from Great Elder. We basically can't be invisible under their sensing. And Yun sighed in her corner. "Oh, that's it." Nodding, Shi Yan's face was stern. "So we have to fight them? We don't have any chance to avoid this?" "Well, we used to have a chance to get rid of the besiege." Fu Wei glared at Shi Yin. "But because you guys got out of the protective halo to kill those Ghost Mark warriors, we had to pause for 15 minutes. We lost that precious chance. Of course, you don't need to blame yourself. I said it was a chance, so I'm not even sure if we could have escaped with the given 15 minutes. Seems like I have to take responsibility then." Shi Yin couldn't help but laugh. "Of course, you have to take responsibility, Fu Wei nodded and smiled. You gave us the cannon. Our danger is related to the cannon. I've paid 100 million for the cannon. You should protect us and ensure our safety then. All right, I will try my best to protect you guys. Yin smiled reluctantly. Dash. The big battleship halted. Fu Wei and Yuan and Yin stood on the deck of the ship, watching the area ahead of them. Their faces became stern. Black and blue shark battleships were approaching from the galaxy afar at an arrowhead formation to block them. A handsome ghost mark man with his hands clasped behind his back was standing on the leading battleship. He had tender eyes and a natural smile on his face. That's Du Lin, hissed Yuan. Fu Wei looked unnatural. She looked at the young man from a distance and sighed. Those battleships didn't stop. The ghost mark captain named Du Lin took a deep breath and then pitched his voice. Miss Fu Wei, I didn't want to meet you in such situation. Allow me to apologize in advance. I don't want to do this. I hope you understand. I don't want to see you either. Fu Wei walked forward reluctantly. Standing several thousand meters away from Du Lin, she said gently, Can you retreat, please? I can. Du Lin nodded resolutely and then said, Give me the cannon. I will leave immediately. For you, I can even violate the order. I just need the cannon. I won't kill any of you. Can I keep the cannon and leave? Smiled Fu Wei. No, you can't. I agreed with him. I can't do that. Du Lin bent his body to express his apology. He smiled reluctantly and said, I can do my best to protect you. Believe me, as long as you give me the cannon, I'm sure you will all be safe and sound. Young master, hissed one of his subordinates. Du Lin waved his hand, shouting impatiently, Don't speak nonsense. If Miss Fu Wei agrees with me, I'm willing to violate his order for her. The other didn't dare to say more. I can't give you the cannon, Fu Wei said begrudgingly. Du Lin wasn't startled. He still smiled tenderly. I know I'm making it difficult. Yeah, don't worry. I will show mercy. I won't let anything bad happen to you. He turned his head, looking at the mad shark fleet behind and gave his order, Go. Pay attention. Anyone who attacks Miss Fu Wei will lose their life. The Ghost Mark warriors then urged their battleships, moving like a frenzy of sharks chasing after their prey. Their auras and momentum were so intimidating. Fu Wei sighed weakly and said, Return to the control center. Prepare to struggle through a furious battle. Chapter 1004, Giving Energy. Chapter 1004, Giving Energy _ Ferocious black and blue mad shark battleships moved like cruel big fish with divine crystals as their source of energy. They quickly approached. Du Lin stood firm like a rock on the deck of a battleship, clasping his hands behind his back. He looked calm with a warm smile. Apparently, he wouldn't join this battle immediately. The mad shark fleet, under his command, was moving fast forward. They diverged, creating a circle to surround the massive battleship and blocking any possible exit. Fu Wei was stern while she sat in the control center. Each wisp of her soul consciousness had created a subtle connection with each mark on the walls. The magnificent halo expanded and covered the entire battleship. Crack, crack, crack. Sharp gears emerged from two sides of the battleship. With cold light, they started to roll rapidly and created sharp and shiny spikes. The energy of countless divine crystals was released. At this moment, Fu Wei had connected all the barriers of the battleship. With her soul consciousness, she controlled her ship and made it like a sharp blade comes out of its sheath or like a beast opening its bloody mouth. The energy fluctuation from the battleship was now so sharp. Boom! Light columns shot out from different corners of the battleship like electric dragons. They crazily attacked everywhere. This earth-shaking commotion rampaged the galaxy like an exploding life star or a meteor shower. The shockwave this attack created could smash everything. Some black and blue shark battleships approaching first got hit as they weren't cautious. The light columns pierced through the shark battleships, killing dozens of Ghost Mark warriors. Their broken bodies were blown away. Their blood dyed the area red. Fu Wei paled. She hurried to take some pellets. Her soul consciousness gathered energy and controlled the attacking formations of the battleship. The dim-lit universe now had pieces of broken bodies floating. Those bodies weren't intact. They were just like the pulp of meat floating in the void. Warriors of the pierced battleships changed their countenances, flying away from their wrecked battleships. They released powers Upanishads and god domains. Bunches of light beams shot out as thick as clouds of locusts bombarding Fu Wei's battleship. The halo of the battleship sparked dazzlingly and beautifully. However, it was perilous and it scared people. The massive battleship suddenly trembled under the furious attacks. The sharp gears on the sides revolved faster. The massive battleship was like a spear that could pierce through everything, moving directly forward. Fragments of gigantic battleships turned into powder and vanished upon impact with the sharp gears on Fu Wei's battleship. Any warrior who came near the battleship was killed by experts of potion and tool pavilion hiding inside the protective halo. The battle was extremely fierce right at the beginning. Du Lin changed his countenance. Looking at the black and blue shark battleships shattering and his subordinates being killed, his warm smile disappeared. Shi Yin, Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua stood on the deck mingling with the other warriors of potion and tool pavilion. Looking at the mad shark battleships attacking them, their visages were extremely stern. Shi Yin knew that the light curtain above their head couldn't resist for a long time. That light curtain was created from many barriers and restrictions, which were linked with Fu Wei's soul. She had controlled them right from the beginning. To maintain that protective halo, Fu Wei had to use her soul energy continually, which would weaken her fast. Fu Wei also controlled the crystal artilleries at each salvo. As she had to defend and attack at the same time, Fu Wei had to consume a significant amount of energy each second. Once Fu Wei couldn't endure it anymore, the halo would disappear and this battleship would have to stop its attack. The Ghost Mark warriors would get on board. After that, the most brutal combat would start. Shi Yin didn't know how long Fu Wei could endure this. On the ship, Shi Yin was strangely cold and calm. His soul altar slowly spun. His energy extended, gathering corpses and god bodies of the dead Ghost Mark warriors above the light curtain. After those warriors died, their energy didn't disperse immediately. Shi Yin attracted this kind of energy and took it into his body through his acupuncture points. 720 acupuncture points started to refine madly. Each of his acupuncture points was an immense world with countless vortexes that drew and refined essence chi of dead warriors. The vortexes revolved, filtered, refined, and released pure energy for Shi Yin to absorb. Inside the control center, Fu Wei was pale. Her sea of consciousness seethed like a thunderstorm. Her soul energy was like countless tentacles that connected the marks of the formations and restrictions in this control center. Both defending and attacking this massive battleship required the soul energy to control it. Her god power was getting consumed rapidly. She had controlled this battleship alone and knew everything to the details. She could feel her mind and energy drain quickly. This kind of consumption happened so fast that no pellet could help her recover shortly. She knew that she must be persistent. Once she couldn't control it anymore, the battleship would be defenseless. Once it happened, she would have no power to deal with Du Lin. She couldn't keep the cannon and she would become Du Lin's property, a toy of his. Fu Wei gritted her teeth, trying to focus. Her soul consciousness connected to every detail of the ship. She still controlled it. The light curtain covering the ship thinned because of the bombarding from different forces. It would be torn in any minute. Crystal artilleries shot the light columns that looked like spikes of a hedgehog. This kind of attack was a significant threat to Ghost Mark warriors surrounding the ship. After a salvo, some warriors of the Ghost Mark clan were killed. The gears on both sides of the gigantic battleship rolled, crushing the mad shark battleships impacted with them. They crushed the shark battleships into pieces while Fu Wei's battleship was still flying fast forward. It broke any warrior and anything in its way, grinding them into powder. No Ghost Mark warrior could stop it. Fu Wei was so tired. She had sweat all over their body. Her bangs in front of her forehead were damp. Shi Yin stood still on the deck of the massive battleship. He squinted, looking at the bodies hovering above the light curtain. His eyes had the light like ghostly flames. Fei Lan and the other two surrounded him. They were stern, watching him and waiting for his direction. Since Shi didn't nod to order them to attack, Feilan's team stood still. No matter how hard Yun, Feng and Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards resisted the enemies, Shi team just stood and watched them coldly. You guys go help them. Remember that before the light curtain breaks, you can't fly out of the battleship. After a long time, Shi suddenly ordered Pavilion and the other two. Then, he walked alone to the control center of the battleship. You can't get in. One of Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards stopped him in the passage leading to control room. At the critical moment, Fu Wei was the soul and the heart of this gigantic battleship. She shouldn't be disturbed. Compared to the breaking the bottleneck in cultivation, her situation now was much more dangerous. If someone attacked her, she couldn't do anything to defend herself. If Shi had a bad intention and attacked Fu Wei while she was concentrating on controlling the battleship, Fu Wei would be killed easily. I can help her. Stopping by the control center, Shi spoke to Yun honestly. Yun had a struggle in her mind. At the moment when their situation became so perilous, she made a right decision. Let him in. She waved her hand at the guard. Some Potion and Tool Pavilion's guards who protected the control center listened to Yun. They stooped and left. Pay attention to this place. Yun talked to Feng An and then walked to the control center. I'm going with you. After you. Shi knew her worry. He nodded and stepped aside to give her way, asking her to go first. Yun stormed into the control center, landing next to Fu Wei. She took a deep breath and spoke to Fu Wei. Shi said he came to help you. Fu Wei was sweating a lot. Her long blue dress was damp on her body, revealing her voluptuous features. She was controlling the formations with closed eyes. Listening to Yun, she opened her eyes, her face ashen. He came to help me? Yun nodded. Let him in, said Fu Wei. Shi appeared like a dark shadow. He checked Fu Wei's situation. You should focus on controlling the battleship. I'm here to help. He extended his left hand and placed it on Fu Wei's damp back. Beams of mysterious energy seeped out from his finger and entered Fu Wei's god body like refreshing streams. A cool feeling flooded her body. Her exhausted essence chi ancient tree was refilled. Her tired spirit revived as if she had taken a panacea. This fantastic feeling was like soaking the body in ice water in the middle of a hot summer day. Fu Wei's heart had a vibe. She gave a sincere smile. She gritted her teeth and couldn't help but let out a moan of pleasure. Shi was bewildered, looking at Fu Wei enjoying it. He shook his head, chuckled and then advised her. Don't get distracted. You must focus. Everything on this battleship depends on your control. Do not get distracted. Got it. Fu Wei answered gently. She thinned her lips, beaming a smile. Her pale cheeks recovered its colors. Her god body felt like a dry well that was receiving water. The flames of her life burst up. Fu Wei's energy refilled. The mysterious energy flowed through Shi fingers to her body. As he was touching her back, he could see every ability of Fu Wei's god body. He could clearly see her bones, blood, and flesh. Everything was reflected in his heart. Sensing quietly, Shi suddenly understood something. Although it was the same kind of energy transmission, Fei Lan, Ka Tua, and Leona could absorb every bit of energy that Shi gave them through the mark on their foreheads. At the same time, they could use this energy to refine their bodies and their soul altars. To Fu Wei, it was different. Half of the energy Shi had sent to her body was wasted, and his energy couldn't help Fu Wei strengthen herself. It could only help her restore and nurture her body to generate energy again. He understood that the energy he had given her could be effective only when she needed energy. When Fu Wei was at her peak condition, his energy given to her couldn't do anything. It couldn't be converted to her energy to increase her realm and powers. Anyway, it was not from the same school or source. Shi sighed inwardly. Chapter 1005, The Thunder God Spear. Chapter 1005, The Thunder God Spear Unearther. Boom! The intensive light column that was as beautiful as a gemstone shot out from the crystal artilleries. After a salvo, they crushed a blue shark battleship into small pieces. Fragments of the damaged battleships were burned. Shooting flame fell massively. The scorching flames were dazzling as the most brilliant fireworks that were too mesmerizing to the soul. This was the 6th Mad Shark battleship that they destroyed. Hundreds of Ghost Mark clansmen were killed. Their bodies were gone, and their soul altars were broken. Inside the control center, Fu Wei was calm. Her face glowed in health. Her tiredness was swept away. Shi Yin stood quietly behind her like the strongest city wall. One hand of his was placed on her back that helped him sense the energy surging in her blood vessels. Fu Wei beamed a relaxed smile. The hand on her back continually sent some kind of mysterious energy into her body. It was like a magical stream that could strengthen her blood, vessels, and bones. It had refilled her consumed essence chi and allowed her to maintain her full energy condition. She had a feeling that if that hand didn't leave, she would never be defeated, as she could maintain her peak condition forever. She would never feel tired again. It has been so many years since Fu Wei had felt this kind of care and protection. She felt that the hand was the most important thing in her life. As long as she had it on her back, she was never going to be defeated. And Yuan had a joy that she couldn't hide. She studied the young man, her eyes happy and her face joyfully bright. The Mad Shark fleet was the most potent force of the Ghost Mark clan. Du Lin, their captain, was very famous in Agate Star area. He was the young and fabulous expert whom the entire Croc family entrusted its future. At the same time, he was favored and accepted by the great elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Du Lin had almost collected all the supports and favors to him. He was the chosen son of heaven and the most prominent star in Agate Star area. And Yuan would never expect this extremely tough battle to be like this, and Fu Wei was still full of energy until this moment. That year when they built this battleship, and Yuan had also participated in the construction. She knew its structure and fabricating method clearly. Fu Wei was the soul of this battleship. Each barrier, formation, and restriction was connected to Fu Wei's soul. She was the operator for every defending and attacking operation. The bottom of this gigantic battleship had hundreds of millions of divine crystals, which were its source of energy. As long as Fu Wei didn't consume all of her energy and she maintained her sound mind, she could use the energy of those divine crystals continually to have the protective halo and the terrifying attacks last. It required Fu Wei's energy and the divine crystals at the bottom of the battleships to endure and resist the enemy. If Fu Wei could stay in her peak condition with the abundant amount of divine crystals, they could always maintain the utmost defense and attack. Talking about wealth, none of the forces in Agate Star area could compare to Potion and Tool Pavilion. Shi Yan's appearance was the most valuable variable and the biggest chance for them. Until this moment, and Yuan was still panic-stricken. She didn't know what method Shi Yan had used to refill Fu Wei's energy. However, she believed that if Shi Yan could help Fu Wei remain at her peak condition, the defensive and attacking operations of this battleship wouldn't be paused, and it would be in the best condition until the end. Fu Wei glowed as she was in a good condition. Her breathing was steady and her blue eyes were bright and happy. Shi Yan stood still like a mountain. Energy still flowed from him into Fu Wei's body. His flow of energy then diverged into smaller streams, which were sent to every corner of Fu Wei's body. With this support, she would never be exhausted. Looking at the cold young man and Fu Wei relaxing, and Yuan couldn't hold her thoughts. If these two cooperated, would everything be smooth and excellent? Standing on the only Black Shark battleship that hadn't engaged in the battle, Du Lin wasn't smiling anymore. He knitted his eyebrows tightly, his eyes getting colder. Standing behind him were 3 Ghost Mark experts at Second Sky of Ethereal God Realm. They kneeled down with their head held stubbornly high. They bit their lips until bleeding. They were anxious and impatient. The Croc family had built this Mad Shark fleet to support Du Lin. To give Du Lin the strongest fleet of the Ghost Mark clan, the Croc had used half of the property of the entire family. The Mad Shark fleet shouldered the critical mission of bringing Du Lin to the chief position in the future. He was the hope of the Crocs. Today, 6 of them were smashed and hundreds of the elite warriors of the family had fallen into the Sea of Stars. They would never be able to gather their souls and bodies once again. All of these were because of Du Lin's rash operation. Young master. A senile ghost mark expert gritted his teeth, a trickle of blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He said with deep grief, "Our fellows are being killed. They are all your entourage. Young master, do you want to see more of them die? Young master, they are the foundation of the Croc family. They are your most loyal soldiers. If you insist on continuing, I will kill myself right here." Another ghost mark warrior shouted, his face resolute and stubborn. While he was talking, a fiery light ball emerged on his palm. He struck it to his forehead. Du Lin was frightened. He stopped the old man immediately. Thunderbolts wound around that man's arms, restraining his body. The ghost mark old man who was about to commit suicide couldn't press his hand on his head, halting. His eyes were filled with grief as he looked at Du Lin deep in his eyes. "Young master, it is worth sacrificing many men to win over that woman's heart?" His heart was bleeding. Du Lin pondered for a while. He sighed reluctantly. "I understand." The three kneeling ghost mark experts' eyes brightened when Du Lin changed his attitude. They now had hope, talking malignantly, "We beg you to take action." Du Lin turned his head, looking at the gigantic battleship moving away. As he looked at the watery, wave-like protection halo, felt the power of the combination of countless barriers and restrictions, and saw many men of his elite force being killed, Du Lin's indecisive eyes became resolute. He knew once he attacked them that he would never have the chance to have Fu Wei's heart. He came all the way here this time with the hope that he could persuade Fu Wei. He hoped he didn't need to go through the last step to win her heart and the cannon. But he was wrong. He didn't expect that Fu Wei could resist his attacks up until this moment. She seemed to not be tired at all. It was a strange situation. Du Lin was skeptical, but he couldn't explain why. Now, he had to do what he didn't want to do the most. When he took action, he and Fu Wei wouldn't have a way to return. He would never have Fu Wei's heart. At most, he could only have her body. He would become a bastard. Du Lin's disposition was self-important. After Fu Wei had rejected him that year, he had sworn he would make Fu Wei moved one day. He must make Fu Wei like him with all her heart. She would become his wife and help him expand his territory, stepping on the peak of glory in Agate Star area. However, he finally knew today that his pledge would never be fulfilled. He flew out of the Black Shark battleship, hovering in the immense void and facing Potion and Tool Pavilion's massive, incoming battleship. Although he looked calm, his eyes showed his reluctant and lonely feelings. Thousands of ghost mark warriors halted no matter where they were. They focused, looking at him and waiting for something. Some senile ghost mark experts clenched their fists as they became excited. Their eyes yearned for a victory. A shining spear made of lightning emerged from Du Lin's sleeve. It glowed in the silver hue of divine light. His ethereal extent was a world of blinding thunderbolts. It revealed above his head like a rising curtain. Tens of thousands of lightning strikes moved inside that marvelous world. The world seemed to collapse as lightning flashed continually like the gossamer, striking here and there. That shining silver spear was as long as an arm. It had the natural pattern of lightning with the incredible abilities of thunderbolts. The spear flew out inaudibly, darting towards Potion and Tool Pavilion's battleship like a silky ribbon. Tens of thousands of lightning strikes in ethereal extent above Du Lin's head acted as if they were drawn away from his ethereal extent, pouring rapidly into the spear. In just a blink, the silver spear had absorbed thousands of lightning strikes. It moved like a meteor piercing through the universe, aimed at the light curtain protecting Potion and Tool Pavilion's battleship. PFFF. The defensive halo created by countless barriers and restrictions was torn. The light curtain covering the battleship was pierced through and created a giant hole. Then, it was ripped apart at a speed that a naked eye could see. The divine lightning was dazzling as it expanded over the light curtain and tore it apart. Under that light curtain, warriors of Potion and Tool Pavilion were struck by lightning. Their god bodies were charred. Weak warriors were killed at their spots, while stronger ones had their souls damaged significantly. The Thunder Divine Spear was the top treasure of the Ghost Mark clan. It was an original incipient grade weapon. Du Lin, the chosen son of heaven from the Crocs, was the current owner of this divine weapon. Du Lin's main power was lightning. He could promote the power of the Thunder God Spear by giving it billions of his lightning strikes. It could have the god power to destroy the world. PFFF. Fu Wei spat out blood from her succulent red lips. Her face was pale. Her soft body was filled with lightning. Her energy accumulated in the body was smashed. She was trying to resist the lightning invading her body with great pain. As she had the connection with barriers, marks, restrictions, and formations of this battleship, she also had to bear the power of the lightning strikes. She was hurt severely after this attack when the light curtain got torn. Boom! Azure thunderbolts with deterrent power moved through Shi Yan's hand into his body. His hand was still placed on Fu Wei's back. The lightning strikes were like arrows shot out of a strong bow. They attacked his body in various parts, giving him a horrible pain to his muscles and vessels. His arm almost exploded. As it was very sore and numb, he had to move his hand away from Fu Wei's back. Level 1 Original Incipient Grade Weapon. It's the Thunder God Spear. Du Lin is using the Thunder God Spear. And Yuan burst out angrily, thundering. He dares to use the Thunder God Spear. He wants to kill us. Zhualu is crazy. After killing another elder, isn't he afraid of the other elder's punishment? When that level 1 original incipient grade weapon is activated, it will disorder the lightning and thunder of the surrounding area. When those lightning strikes shoot fast, he won't be able to control them. They would kill a lot of creatures around. They could even crush a life star. Shi Yan was frightened. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.